Thundercool, how you doing, brother? Welcome, welcome, sir. Welcome. Wow, it is. This is a late one. This is a late one. Not gonna lie, but I'm happy to be here. Thundercool, how's your day gone, man? What's gonna show up to Xbox? We'll see. We'll see. Kiki, how you doing? Good evening to you. I'd say I am genuinely more watching just to see if it's Grieveros. How you doing, sir? Shumi, how you doing? I don't know if there's gonna be a lot of wokeness. There are one game that I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more about, and that's the Claire game. What's it called again? Claire Obscure, I think it's called. The concept of the game is sort of like old school Final Fantasy turn-based. So I'm sort of excited for that. I don't know if it's going to be good, but you know, as of now, we don't know if there's anything woke going on with Claire Obscure. I can probably check here quickly. It's Claire Obscure. What's it called again? Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Yeah, here we go. So it's this game that I can't scroll. It's this game. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it looks good. I like the style of it. JTuber, how you doing, sir? I like the style of the game. It looks sort of very gritty, very sort of dark. So we're probably going to get some news on this game. Who knows what we'll hear. The story seems generally pretty good. There's a thing that's basically destroying the world, and we need to try and figure it out. Thundercool, thank you very much. Really appreciate that, sir. And the combat is really good because the combat is turn-based. You have like a party of people and everyone gets a turn. It's really cool. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. The question is it going to be woke? Let's see. Sandfall Interactive is the studio behind it. Founded in 2020 in France, Sandfall Interactive is a video game studio developing premium 3D games for PC and new-gen consoles. Premium 3D games? Like, 3D? Really? Okay. You're just developing games, bro. Like, what are you talking about? With a focus on single-player experiences, we want to deliver incredible stories with intriguing characters and gorgeous fantasy worlds. We built the base pipelines we can to achieve this goal while keeping the creativity and agility of small teams. Okay, so they're working with small teams. Like it. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of white mania. Maybe it's based. Maybe it's based. Because there's a shit ton of white mania. They're French, though. You know, so make with that what you will. But, yeah. Bunch of French dudes and one Asian woman. Kami, how you doing? So here's the entirety of the team. I'm not spotting any obvious red flags. Just spotting a bunch of people chilling, looking pretty happy to be there. Frozen Solid, how you doing, sir? Now we need to see who do they work with? Where's their About Us section? Because that's usually what you want to check out. Like you want the About Us. No, how you doing, Grofile? The Eternal Crusader, how you doing, brother? Never trust the French. That is true, though. Even the dog is happy to be there, so there's potential. Yeah, true. I want to see their About. Because that's usually where they reveal their ESG nonsense, is in the About stuff. It's a very small studio, though, which I think is super good. Smaller studios, I think, is going to make a comeback. I genuinely think in the next few years, we'll most likely see... in the next few years, we will most likely see a massive return back to very small teams. You already have Dawnwalker. So Dawnwalker and Rebel Wolves. Rebel Wolves employs a maximum of 90 developers, which is, for a game of that size, is super small. There's not a single AAA developer out there that could make Dawnwalker with 90 people. And everything we hear, the game is actually pretty good already. Like, the game is actually pretty far along in development already. Gotta look for those buzzwords: diverse, modern audience, etc. I am trying to find them before night shift. Did you delete Twitter? Frozen Solid, how you doing, brother? I didn't delete... Well, I did delete Twitter. Yes. I have a new Twitter that I tweet on. I deleted my old one. I didn't like it. So I decided to just start a new one where I can be as based as I want without having to fight retards in chat. There it is. If you want to follow it, it is what it is. It doesn't really bother me. People either follow or they don't. I literally mainly use it to tweet stuff out that I'm going to be using in videos later, right? So I use Twitter at the moment just as like to remember topics so that I can make videos about them later. That's what Twitter is for me. And to a grifter. Yeah, well, you know, I couldn't think of another name, so I just ended up calling myself Not Akalon because I couldn't think of another name. So this is where we are now. Too bored. How you doing? Well, we'll see. I don't know how much hype there's to be. There's an hour left before it starts, so we'll see. You know how much hype we should have for it. I'm so out of the loop. I don't know Xbox is doing anything today. Shay, how you doing? Well, we don't know yet. The last time we saw a game showcase from Xbox, it was actually pretty good, right? It was like one of the best game showcases I've ever seen. Every single game that they announced was just phenomenal. This is obviously very different. This is a developer direct. So while games will definitely be announced, a lot of the time you'll also get focused on some of the new studios that they might be working with and all the rest of it. It's your gaming. How you doing, brother? So yeah, we'll end up seeing what happens there. I guess we'll end up seeing what happens there. I don't know yet. Truth, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, sir. Asgone is gonna miss out on content. Why is he not streaming right now? Titanborn, how you doing, bro? Trying to see. I don't... Okay, so thus far... What if we go to jobs? They have a QA tester intern. I guess that's not bad. And they have one open application for a permanent or fixed term contract freelance full... I don't know what this is for. What's the position for? Oh, just any developer. I was a QA tester and it was the worst. Sadly, these days, that does not surprise me. That does not surprise me. Okay, here we go. Maybe we find it here. Although they don't post often. We're really proud to reveal Claire Obscure, what's new at Sandfall, March. Happy New Year from Sandfall. Okay, guys, I'm willing to say, Tadia, how you doing? I'm willing to say that as of this very moment, Claire Obscure appears to be at least not woke. From everything I've been able to piece together, they appear to at least not be woke. That doesn't mean that they're probably not left-wing and probably not very progressive, but I'm not finding anything on their website that I would consider problematic or sort of, you know, sets off some sort of alarm bells and stuff of that nature. So maybe, who knows? But no one said it's woke. We are just sort of looking into it because this is one of the games that I'm very much looking forward to. OG Xbox and Game Boy Advance games? Oh, wow. So years ago, actually. I was reading very difficult stuff for my thesis. You gave me an excuse to procrastinate and do it tomorrow. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Taddeo, what are you doing your thesis in? Always be vigilant, Akko. Grover, I mean, you guys literally pay me. Well, some of you just leech off of the other people giving you a sub. But some of the people literally pay me to figure out whether or not there's wokeness in video games and then actually, cover it. The Red girl is a clear sign it's not woke to me. Why? They wouldn't put a Red into a game with diversity, equity, and inclusion? I'm not sure why, but we'll see if it works. We'll see if it works. I'm very much excited for it. But yeah, what I was gonna say is it does seem like the future of video games is these smaller and smaller studios. You know, studios with anywhere from like 30 to maybe an upper limit of like 150 developers. I think the era of mega studios, the era of 250 plus developers, I think that's coming to an end. My thesis tackled the problem of consciousness from a mathematical computational perspective. Yeah, wow. Wait, what? Are you doing masters or PhD? Trying to hide DI super hardcore now. Some will, Thundercool, some will. Although I think my genuine belief is that there are, let's get paint. Where's my trusty paint? Let me do it like this. My genuine belief is that you have sort of two groups, okay? So you have these two fundamental groups. Now, in my opinion, Z Vengeance, how you doing? This group can basically be seen as the true believers, right? So they are true believers. They absolutely believe all of this. They are super mega woke. They love being woke. They love everything to do with wokeness. On the other side, you have what I think should be called the opportunists, right? These are the people who they viewed this as a way of getting good publicity fairly easily. All you had to do was add a couple of characters to your game, you know, just race swap a couple of characters, and the media would write glaring reviews about your movies and your TV series and all the rest of it. And it would be great, right? Because you're getting effectively free publicity. Normally, if you want publicity, you'd need to... Okay, so normal game development will be 200 million. Marketing on that game will be another 200 million. Sometimes maybe 100 million if they're not spending that much. If it's like an Xbox game, that number is 0. But, you know, for any other company, the number for marketing can sometimes be even more than that. So we know, for example, Activision's newest Call of Duty was about 750 million, right? For Patlin, 32 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you. Thank you. Their marketing on that game was 500 million. Estimated. That's marketing. But you put just one diverse hire into your game, and you can slash that 500 to 250 because the media is doing half of the marketing for you, writing about how amazing this beautiful character is and all the rest of it, right? So fundamentally, for them, this was good and easy way of getting things done and not having to pay for it because basically it pays for itself. Of course, the one thing that they could never have known, the one thing they could never have known was this group. These are our faithful developers, right? They're the Ds in this little thing. Now, the Ds can further be grouped into their own groups as well, where you have the woke developers and you have the unwoke developers, right? And this is maybe not a fully equal split, but it is I think there's more unwoke developers than what there are woke developers. The problem is the unwoke developers just want to get on with their jobs. The woke developers want to make noise. And so when you make enough noise, you usually get to cancel out this group. But never mind that. Since these guys were making games that was filtering through these guys, all of that free marketing basically meant nothing. Like, if you got 100 million worth of free marketing from the game, you'd still have nothing, right? You'd still have nothing. Let me just show you. Now I can show you what I'm talking about, right? I just wanted to fill all of this in before I show you what I'm talking about. All of this, so you have the true believers, you have the opportunists, and you have the developers, the woke and the unwoke developers. Now, all of that free marketing that you got because you had a diverse character, because it was running through the woke developers over here, that gets cancelled out because, well, the woke developers aren't interested in making good games. The woke developers are interested in making woke games. And so what I think will happen is, as time goes on, so as this thing now sort of plays itself out and we start to see the industry basically return to normal, as these opportunists start to realize that, hold on, where's our money? You know that meme with Will Ferrell and the little girl going, "Where's my money, bitch?" Right? When these guys start to realize, wait, but the money isn't really coming in and the tide seems to be turning. Gamers actually don't seem to care about this stuff at all. These guys are going to continue to just make normal games now. From this moment forward, they're going to go back to normal games because that's what they do. Who cares? This group, the true believers, they will continue to make woke games. They'll continue to make woke games because for them, this was never about opportunity. This was never about, cheap business tactics. They truly believe, right? They believe what is going on. Their woke games are going to continue as it has always continued. And they're going to get killed for it. Now, in my estimation, the companies that we should be looking, and to be fair, it might not necessarily even be that the studios themselves are true believers, but if a studio has been infected by enough true believers and the unwoke developers that left, there's not enough unwoke developers there to salvage what is left, those studios could die as well, just because there won't be, the momentum will push it this way consistently. I sort of include in that companies like Ubisoft, right? So I think Ubi is going to go. I think Blizzard is probably going to go as well. I don't see Blizzard sort of making it. I see not EA, really. EA genuinely just looks like a very greedy company. Like EA is on this side. EA is on this side. They don't care. Another one that's on this side actually is Activision. Activision also could not care less. They're not true believers. They just want to make money. And whatever needs to happen for that to happen, they're happy with it. I think Naughty Dogs is another one that belongs on this side here. So Naughty Dogs is going to go in this little corner here as well. Naughty Dogs will also die because I think it's a true believer. It's people who genuinely believe in the mission. I think Paradox Entertainment has made themselves sort of known. Now, Paradox isn't quite a AAA. They're a bit more AA, borderline AAA. But I think they're also they're bought into it a little bit too deeply. Didamazal, how you doing? On the opportunist side, Activision, EA, they're fully opportunist. Now, under EA, I should just say, a company like BioWare probably also doesn't survive this, by the way, because BioWare might also just be completely captured. But EA, being the opportunist, they were never true believers. They'll just close BioWare down. Like, they don't give a shit, right? If BioWare keeps losing money, close it down, let's move on. Who cares, right? Because we actually just want to make money. It's the only thing we care about. Don, how you doing? I'm trying to think what other studios there might be that fall into the sort of opportunist level Oh. Square Enix. So Square Enix, I think, falls into opportunist levels. They just sort of shifted and changed because that's what people wanted them to do. Bethesda, I think Bethesda has deeper problems, Truth Gaming. Bethesda's problems is not woke. Starfield, for example, did not fail because of wokeness. I know it had pronouns in the character selection screen, but that is so not the reason Starfield failed. I think Bethesda's biggest problem is Todd Howard. And I don't think Bethesda knows how to deal with that because he's the owner. They don't know how to deal with Todd Howard because I think Todd Howard got lucky once in his life. Because I'm reminded that Fallout isn't really necessarily even his original idea. So what did Todd Howard actually work on? Like, what was his actual sort of contribution? So, and I think the problem is Todd Howard was always very good at allowing developers to come up with really cool ideas and then running that and taking the credit for it because he's Todd Howard, obviously. The problem is I think Todd Howard started to genuinely believe that, wait, maybe my farts do actually smell like roses. And that's the issue. I think Todd Howard genuinely believes that he's the money man behind Bethesda's success. And so I don't think Bethesda can be saved regardless of where they are on this true believer, opportunist side. I don't know if they can be saved. Tekla, how you doing, brother? But nobody ain't modding it. Yeah, that's the problem, right? More nuanced way to see this is every one of them are true believers, but some of them mostly at the lower levels, not corporational. That yeah, all of these will have true believers inside the companies, but a lot of those companies, the true believers aren't significant enough to make deep changes, or at least to affect deep changes yet. Todd Howard acquired Fallout, so they could work on 3. Well, see, the thing is, wasn't 3 also not made by them, or did they make 3 and then they got Obsidian to make New Vegas? Maybe Doom? No. Todd Howard didn't do Doom. Bethesda also just bought Doom, no? It's Bethesda Publishing that does Doom. It's not Bethesda Studios that makes Doom, right? Look what happened to Mortal Kombat 1. This game is falling with woke, failing motivation. Well, yes, the woke shit will sort of filter into almost everything. Modding needs to be saved too. That's also corrupt. Starfield was put way too high on the pedestal, but I know a few Bethesda devs who were like, especially one who worked on the game's level designs. what level designs? Sorry, I'm not trying to be mean, but Bethesda's leveling designs is basically just let an AI make an empty bloody planet and let players run around in it. All these different games fell to woke shit. Did you see what happened with Vampire Bloodlines 2? It's going to be woke too. Violet, I saw it. I didn't cover it because I don't know anything about Vampire Masquerade. So that's why I didn't cover it. I tend to cover games that I actually care about, and that wasn't a game that I cared about at all. But yes, I did see. For now, though, it looks like it's only a community manager. But I will say the big problem with it is the characters also look ass. Not gonna lie, it is the first time in my entire life that I see a man and a woman standing next to each other, and I'm not entirely convinced which is which. Like, even in real life, like, it doesn't matter what you do. If you put, like, no matter how feminine the guy might be or how butch the girl might be, you put a man and a woman next to each other, you're going to be able to tell, right? That game really takes androgyny to the next level. It's like, what the hell is going on? They have the same body types. There's no difference at all. Not really. It's Bethesda who popularized the circular dungeon design. Naughty Dog and Bungie on the list. Don, they would be on the side. So Bungie is an interesting case study. Because Bungie, again, isn't a company that's failing because of wokeness. Bungie is a company failing because of greed. That's literally the only... It's just greed. Knowing how you doing? It's the same picture. Yeah, that's literally... You could use that literally as the meme. Corporate needs you to find the difference between these two pictures. And you can just have the vampires, the masquerade picture there. Because it's literally the same picture. There's no difference. Who knew men and women were so similar? Oh yeah, Bancarella, I think... I'm going to be very honest, and this is not going to win me a lot of points. A lot of people are going to hate me for this. I think Bethesda has always been overrated. I do not believe that Bethesda has ever been the greatest RPG developers in the world. In fact, I wouldn't even put them in the top 10. I think Bethesda games are wildly overrated, and I think they're overrated because they're moddable. Which means the community keeps them alive and allows for you pretty much all the freedom in the world to play the way that you want. But if we're going to talk about actual RPGs, where story, gameplay, and everything is included in the conversation, there is not a single Bethesda title that comes anywhere close to Witcher 2, Witcher 3, Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, Dragon Age Origin, Dragon Age 2, no, but Dragon Age Inquisition even, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Wasteland 2 and 3. I never played 1, so I can't really talk on that. What else? I'm trying to think. There's so many RPGs that I've played in my life. I'm blanking now. But I would argue there's not a single RPG from Bethesda that comes close. They are all shit. The writing is shit. The storylines tend to be mega shit. And you know that they're shit because most players agree the main storyline of Bethesda games isn't what makes it good. It's the side quests. And you're like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? How can you play? How can you say that? Like, how can the main storyline not be good, but the side quests is what save it? And to be fair, the one thing that I think Bethesda does better than almost anyone else is open world. But that's also not been true for a while, because games have gotten better at doing open world. So, yeah, Gothic, I would say, was a hell of a lot better than anything Bethesda has ever produced. Yeah, I don't know. That is just my opinion. So I should say I'm not stating some objective fact here. It is just my opinion. I'm not a fan of Bethesda games, and that should be obvious from the fact that the furthest I've ever gotten into Skyrim was about 3 hours. 3 hours, and I uninstalled the game, and I've done that about 5 or 6 times. Every single time I hear someone talk about how amazing Skyrim is, I think, well, let's try it out. I log in, I play for about 3 hours, and I go, this is shit. And then I log immediately out, uninstall, and I go play something else. I dislike everything. The gameplay is shit. The graphics are shit. There's bugs even now in that game. I don't like it. I don't like the magic system. I don't like the combat system. I don't like the NPCs. I guess I'm not a fan of the way they write, because they have this sort of very dry, dark humor kind of thing going, which is fine. I don't mind that particularly, but it's not something that I'm personally super fond of. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just not amazing. No, not a huge fan of Bethesda games. I like Skyrim, but it's because of the mods. Kingdom Come 2 Deliverance is completely removed from the Saudi PlayStation Network, but on the other hand, the Saudi Steam Store, the game is still listed. I don't think the game is going to be banned in Saudi, at least not from what I've heard. Junders, how you doing? Hulkmo, how you doing? If they show Avowed, I'm done. Hulkmo, don't worry about it, bro. Like, of course they're going to show Avowed. That's the next big game. Haven't you heard? That game's going to sell millions and millions. The games were good for their time. They didn't age well. I didn't even like them at the time. But then again, my brother, for example, huge Fallout fan. One of my best friends in college played Fallout New Vegas pretty much non-stop every single day for 4 years of college. Never stopped playing Fallout New Vegas. To the point where I was just like, dude, how many times have you finished that game? He finishes and he immediately starts again. This was before mods, because the internet wasn't that fast, and I don't think he even knew you could install mods. He just liked the game. To get by, you doing, sir? Yeah, Hades is another game that I'm not a huge fan of. But not because I think it's a bad game. Same as you. I can recognize that Hades is a really good game. It's just not my type of game. But I sort of put it in the same vein as Kingdom Come Deliverance. I love everything about Kingdom Come Deliverance. I love the world. I love the setting. I love the acting. I love the graphics. Even now, the graphics in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Deliverance 1 is beautiful and amazing. I absolutely hate first-person sword and board. The problem with sword games, or the problem with first-person, is it by definition doesn't work with sword and board. Because in order to play a first-person game, you rely on the vision that you have of the battlefield in front of you. When you have a gun, the gun is sort of at the bottom of the screen. Pretty easy, you can see everything at the top. When you have this massive sword and you're in melee range the whole time, I get headaches. So for example, my playthrough, I never even finished Kingdom Come 1, because my playthrough would go something like this. I'd play for about 2 hours, then I would have a blinding headache, to the point where I had to log off, because I literally, I couldn't even sit and go play something else. I had a headache, so I had to go lie down. And then basically my whole day's ruined, because now I'm struggling with this headache. Finally, the headache goes away. Then I think, okay, let's try it again. And then 2 hours later, massive headache again. I could just never get over the motion sickness. I don't know why, but Kingdom Come Deliverance keeps triggering motion sickness. I don't know what. I don't know why it does that. Was there anything higher than 1v1? I'm dead. Yeah. That's the problem. You're in first person, so you can't see where people are around you or whatever. Z-Wolf, what's going on? No. So I know what their problem is, but there's no way to fix it. I tried to download a mod that allows you to increase field of view to 100. The problem is, thanks to their shitty coding, it makes the whole thing fisheye lanes, which gives you even more motion sickness because now the sides of your screen looks as if you're looking through a fishbowl. So you can't play like that. The problem is the field of view. Their field of view is too narrow. So the field of view only goes up to 75. 75 maybe for the time may have been okay because the game is 10 years old, so I will cut them that slack. But 75 is sort of baseline console. If you're playing on a console, 75 is fine. On a PC, 75 is death for me. I cannot play games under 90 field of view. I need 90 in order not to deal with blinding headaches. And I get nauseous. I feel as if I want to throw up after a while. Avowed is on Game Pass, so would it not be hypocritical to at least give it a go? You've made up your mind already, and I'm not sure. Bunkerella, so I'm not on Game Pass at the moment. I have allowed my Game Pass subscription to lapse, basically because I don't have any games that I want to play there. If I decide to re-enable my Game Pass, well, actually, I'm probably going to do with Avowed exactly what I did with Dragon Age the Veilguard. I'm going to play it. I'm going to stream myself playing it. I'm not going to sit through that alone. You guys are going to suffer with me. I will not be doing that in my free time. Hell no. I will be streaming that so that everyone can suffer alongside me. The same is going to be true for AC Shadows. If we do play that, I'm playing it with you guys. I'm not suffering alone. Someone, how are you doing? In real life, your brain eliminates all of those movements. New game called Phantom Blade. Look it up. It's a Sony exclusive. You see, Violet, but there you lose me. I hate exclusives. Absolutely despise exclusives. There's a new game that I covered today. I don't know if you guys saw it. In about 29 minutes, we're starting with the developer direct, by the way. Don't know if you guys saw the new game. I covered it today. What's it called again? Hold up. Let me see. I have it somewhere here.
Oh, damn.
Oh, someone. 24 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you. Been a while since I was here. Someone very happy to have you here, sir. I have a PS5, but I will not buy another console again. I do not play on consoles. It's against my religion. Consoles is from the devil. Let me just see. I followed the game today. It's this game. Have you guys seen it?
The Ming Dynasty is dead. Although I swore to protect it, I failed. Now I walk the path of blood until my mission is fulfilled. I will not rest until all traitors are silenced and our stolen kingdom return. Who dares to question my will, standing in the way of my redemption?
Yeah, I would say the combat design is really good. The monster design is also really, really good. The graphics is also super good.
You are just another lost soul, trying to oppose fate. And fate.
And I mean, the lead looks badass. Like, the lead protagonist looks really good.
It's mine to command.
So it's called Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. It's another game from China, and it is a Dark Souls game. It was a Souls-like game. It's Souls-like. This isn't Microsoft yet. This is just a cinematic. We're still waiting for the direct to start. Starting in 25 minutes. What's next? Wu Chang? I have no idea. But it looks good. You know, it looks really good. The character, there's been some miscommunication and some weird posts and videos and stuff from people claiming that the developers changed the look of the main protagonist in order to make her look sexier following the success of Stellar Blade, to which the developers, that's what the video today was about. The developers of this game came out and said, no, we didn't. This was always the female protagonist. It was always our protagonist. All we did was show off some of the skins and stuff that you can add to the game. Any news on Fable 4? No idea yet, Sagi. I mean, we're still waiting. 23 minutes. Hi, how are you doing? Gorgzella, I think what Western developers need to be very, very afraid. Because clearly... So here's the problems for Western developers. China is big. China is very big. And unlike the West, right now, the developers in China basically have unlimited funds. Because the government there has no problem investing in companies like NetEase and Tencent and probably a bunch of other gaming companies. And you need to understand a little bit about the politics in China in order to understand that. But basically, the problem with NetEase and China doesn't like when companies get a little bit too large because then those companies can challenge the government. So the Chinese government is more than happy. The Communist Party is more than happy to now fund a bunch of other studios to try and help them make money as well. So these studios are swimming in cash. Not only that, but because of all that money, they can basically attract talent from everywhere. They already have a massive ocean of talent because they have over 1 billion people that live in China. But they can probably get developers from all over the world. How many developers do you know or do you know of that wouldn't jump at the opportunity to go live in China and work there for a couple of years, make some bank? So the West needs to be worried. These Chinese developers are coming in fast.
Oh,
Mueller
damn.
Gaming, 24 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you. Love you too, man. Love you too. Thank you very much. Video games are not my primary hobby now. What's your primary hobby? Fallout 4 is my primary hobby right now. You gotta play South of Midnight too for content. I'm not sure if I'm willing to put myself through that. Don't care what they do with Fable. I'm not playing as that monster. Yeah, Fable. We'll see. I don't have high hopes for Fable, but to be fair, I didn't have high hopes for Fable even before we saw that it's super woke. So my problem with Fable is the only good Fables was Fable 1 and 2. Fable 3 already, the game had become way too mainstream. Like, they were already then toying around with sort of mainstream ideas, which was always what made Fable amazing, was that it was sort of off the beaten path. It had a very unique approach to game design. So I never thought that Fable 4 was going to live up to the hype, ever. It feels like... I can't remember the original developer for Fable. I heard somewhere the original developer, like the writer of Fable, the story. I think he's gone. I think he left. He's no longer there. So whatever they're doing now is sort of just continuing the nonsense. Yeah, Fable 2 was definitely not as good as 1, but Fable 2 was still good. No, Lionhead was the original studio. I'm talking about the writer specifically for the original Fable. I can't remember his name now. But if I'm not mistaken, this is what I heard back in the day. I've never even double checked this, so maybe one of you can fact. What I heard from back in the day was he was a Christian and he wrote the story of Fable for his kids. That was the main story. Obviously, the game story added a bunch of side quests and stuff, but the main idea of Fable, it was a story that he wrote for his children. And then Lionhead got their hands on the story and like, dude, this is amazing. Let's make this into a game. 1 8 out of 10, Fable 2 7 out of 10, Fable 3 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10 seems like you're being generous, if I'm honest with you. Don, no, but I'm not the guy to ask about that. Easy there, how you doing, sir? I'm definitely not the guy to ask about that. I didn't have hopes for Borderlands 1. Hence why I've never played a Borderlands game in my life. I hate looter shooters with everything in my body. I cannot stand that genre of game. To me, it is the most brain-dead genre on the planet. I hate it. I tried Division 2 for about 2 hours and I was done. I was like, this is nonsense. I just want a game with a good story. I don't want to run around looting everything the whole time. So I'm not that guy. When it comes to looter shooters, I don't trust my own judgment on that. So I would say ask someone that actually knows something about looter shooters. whether they're good, because if you ask me, they're all shit, and that entire genre can just die. I would lose nothing. Can't wait to give the show a DI score. Well, it's gonna be very high. Bro wrote off a whole genre based on the worst sample size. Well, no, I played Destiny 2 as well. Hated that too. I'm not a fan of the concept. I don't like the idea of just constantly collecting loot. I want a story that is tailored. I'm also not a fan of open world games, as weird as that might sound. I hate open world games. I think open world is just an excuse not to design a good, tight story. I genuinely do. The first open world game I ever played that blew my mind was Witcher 3. That was the first time I looked at a game and I went, okay, never mind. But the reason for it is the story of Witcher 3 is as tight as if the game was scenario-based. The open world was simply there to explore and to see what's going on, right? To give life to the world and to give side quests and side content. But the story itself was super tight. The problem that I have with a lot of open world games, Ubisoft games specifically, but then just more in general, open world games more broadly, the world tends to be way too large for the content that's actually designed for the game. So what ends up happening is either you just get a repeat of the same activities over and over and over again, or more importantly, most of the world's just empty. There may as well not have been there. So I don't like open world games for that reason. Rather give me like a Dragon Age Origins where it's tailored, there's an actual map and you move through the map, and yes, there's invisible walls and maybe that breaks your immersion a little, but at least the story is tight. I mean, a game that also blew my mind in the same way was Cyberpunk 2077. Also an open world, but just phenomenal, right? From a world perspective, that world, like Cyberpunk 2077 would not work without its open world. The open world is that city is what tells so much of its own story. But that's just so it should probably be mentioned, if you ask most people, would you like, let's do it here in chat now. What would you rather? Amazing gameplay mid-story, amazing story mid-gameplay? What would you rather? Don, this coming Monster Hunter Wilds is going to be my first ever Monster Hunter game. Amazing gameplay, mid-story. I'm all for amazing story. So, according to the studies that's been done on this, according to the polling that's been done on this, the overwhelming majority of gamers, when I say overwhelming, I think it's something like 58% or 61%. Let's say between 55 and 65%, because I can't remember the exact number. Prefer mid-story amazing gameplay. Like, gameplay is more important than story. And basically the way the question should be phrased, where do you think a game could cut corners? On the story or on the gameplay? And the majority of gamers would prefer cutting corners on story and leaving gameplay intact. I am the exact opposite. You can cut the shit out of the gameplay, but do not cut the story. Story is everything. I could care less about the gameplay. And I genuinely said that correctly. I could care less. It's not that I don't care about gameplay at all. I do care about gameplay somewhat, but nowhere near as much as I care about the story. Some games are playable because of good story, and some are good to play despite shit story. Knowing there's very few games. So the only games where I play, even if there isn't a story, but that's because I tend to make my own story in my head as I play, are city builders and colony sims. So things, for example, like Oxygen Not Included. There's not really a story there, but I love that game. Or Mana Lords. Again, not really a story there, but I do love the game. But that's because I make my own story. And so every single time I play Mana Lords, I have an internal narrative of what is actually happening here. And it develops as the game goes on. Shay, very true. Someone, I absolutely agree with what you just said there. A game with an amazing story, you'll remember forever. I can think back to moments in Witcher 3. Like, for example, the very first time you meet... oh, now his name escapes me. In Heart of Stone, Gunther Odin. The very first time you meet Gunther Odin, and it's just like, oh, chilling. Like, chilling, dude. Or the very first time you run into Toussaint in Blood and Wine. Or the Red Baron quest. Seeing the Red Baron quest line, the ending of the Red Baron quest line. These things stick with you. They stay with you. These memories stay with you. I remember Cyberpunk doing a side quest. Wife, and how you doing? A side quest in Cyberpunk where a woman asks you to take revenge on some rich asshole that was drunk driving and killed her child. And as you play through that side quest, and it genuinely is just a small little kill mission. It's not like there's anything special to it. But there's a bunch of stuff that you find in this guy's apartment that gives you some insight into what this story actually is. And turns out, in the world of Cyberpunk 2077, if you're rich enough, you have what is called accident insurance. So if you drunk drive, for example, and you kill someone that is poor, your insurance just pays them like $200 and you don't even go to jail. Like, even if the police catch you, your insurance just pays the $200 and you can go. And that stuck with me. That storyline, that entire thing. I was like, what? Dude, that's nuts. Like, what's going on here? You know, like, stories shape memories, where gameplay doesn't do that for me. It's very rare that I'll play a game where the gameplay is so good that I'll be like, oh, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. I think what you mean is that this is a place where we can freely discuss our disagreements without starting an argument. Well, isn't that sort of always the case, though, in these streams? Always evolve into discussing disagreements with your chat? Tolkien's, well, yeah, but that is one of the main reasons why I stream, right? Is to be able to discuss stuff, and me and chat will disagree, and I like that, because it gives me an opportunity to refine my ideas and sometimes be challenged on my ideas. Doing a discussion with a guildmate who got dragged by a streamer, that's just gross. Most of the creators are so petty with their face when their face comes out. Oh shit, Shay, what happened? Playing a WoW game is like being married to Karen. Dude, imagine being married to a Karen. Like, imagine you meet this sweet little girl, you know, and she's just the sweetest thing. And then when you get married, you realize very quickly, wait, she is not that sweet. We can start an argument as long as there's at the end and we don't go full WoW fanboy mode. The base story, true, Z Vengeance. The base story I would remember the most is the New Vegas Neptune Lootery. Elden Ring has, but what you want to take from it? Elden Ring is good. Elden Ring is a very good game. But I would say, I think Elden Ring is I think the Darks or the Souls games in general, so pretty much all of the games from Software, I would say the reason they are the exception to the rule is the gameplay oftentimes is the story. Jack Reaper, how you doing, bro? Yes, that's also true. It feels like a lot of people have lost the ability to have gaming conversations. I remember way back in the day playing World of Warcraft. This was before Discord even existed. I don't know, most of you are probably too young to know this, depending on the age of the general age of the stream. But I remember back in the Mumble TeamSpeak days, you know, like really long ago. You would hang out with your friends in like WoW, and you'd be raiding, and you guys would be arguing about the next, you know, Call of Duty that's coming out. Or you'd be, at that point it was actually probably called something like Medal of Honor or some shit. I don't know when the Call of Duty label officially became the label. Or you'd be arguing about some series or some movie and whether or not it was good. Or you'd be arguing about some actress, whether she's hot or not, right? And these arguments could sometimes get super heated, but no one canceled each other because of it. You didn't lose friends as a result of these arguments. You would argue, you would fight, and then you would make up and you would go kill some bosses and WoW. That seems to be gone. The ability to actually speak to each other and understand that, hey, it's fine if someone has a different opinion to you. You know, that probably doesn't mean that they're an evil person. These days, it feels more like the second you don't agree with what I say, you must be an evil person, right? So, for example, I make videos about Kingdom Come Deliverance potentially being woke. What happens? Immediately. Screw you. I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt, but this channel is just as shit as all the others. It's like, dude, what? I'm just covering the news. I just happen to be talking about your favorite game now. Like, I actually had people who commented saying, your coverage is going to take down one of the last non-woke games in the world. How dare you? And I was like, bro, if this game isn't woke and it has nothing to hide, my coverage won't do anything to it. What are you talking about? That's not how this works. Just because this is your favorite game doesn't mean I don't cover it. I'm still covering it. I don't have a favorite game in that regard. But I can confirm the change to Henry's sexuality is 100% political. That I know for a fact now. Yeah, he's bisexual now. So I'll show you. Oh, where did I save this? I know I saved it, but now I can't remember where I saved it. I would just go to Twitter. It should be fine. Because I think I tweeted about it. Here we go. Is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. So, just so you guys can see. 8 years ago, Miramax asks, will we have some kind of same-sex romance or even any kind of romance? And Jan Silva, who is still with Warhorse, by the way, confirms romance. No, you will play as Henry, the son of a blacksmith from Silver Scallis, and he already does have a background story in which he is not bi or homosexual, but there will be homosexual NPC characters in the game. Loramax then replies, again 8 years ago, so those players who are not straight will be forced to romance a woman. Warhorse again replies and says, nobody will force you to do anything, but you will play as Henry, the son of a blacksmith. And yes, he is straight and white and male and from Bohemia. Someone from France will not be able to play as a French guy, even if he loves his country. If you're in a wheelchair, you will be able to walk in the game, and Henry will be able to have a dog in the game, even if you are more of a kind of cat person. You will play as a Christian person, even if you are Muslim, Hindu, atheist, or Jedi. But if you are an artist and drawing is your life, and now you have to play as a character who is not able to hold a brush or a pen at all, or if you are tall or small or big or skinny, there is nothing wrong about people to have different preferences and heritages, but we cannot cover all of them, and we don't want to. We want to tell the story of Henry, the son of a blacksmith from Silver Scallis, and he will be different from you, not only in his sexuality, but in his heritage, in his looks, and in his biography, and many more. He will be able to do things you are not able to do in real life, while he lacks in other tasks which you are great in. This game is not meant to be about you. You are not Henry. You are Jan Silva, and you will be able to play as Henry if you want to. You can play his role. There are so many facets that creates a character, a person, an individual. Being gay or straight is not the only difference between people. People are people. This was the response 8 years ago. The response now is Henry is bi, effectively. The other thing, of course, is in this response, they say you are not you. You are not Henry. Henry has his own story. They've also changed that. So now Henry is you. I can show you where that is said before we get into this. So you have Daniel Vavra, that basically they asked him, how are you? Once again, I'd like to ask about Henry's peculiarities. Since you created him, could you say if, canonically speaking, regardless of the player choice, Henry of Scallis is heterosexual? And Daniel Vavra says, Henry is you. That is a marked move away from their original lore. That is political. That change is political. Doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with the change. That's a political change. You had lore. Your lore was established. This is number 2 in the continuation of the original game. Changing that lore for any reason whatsoever is political. You want cinema mode? But let's see what happens. Imagine if that is what we get. That would actually unironically be a very good announcement. Team Ninja.
こんにちは、光栄テクモゲームスチーム忍者の安田文彦です。今日は皆様にチーム忍者が長く大切にしてきたアクションシリーズの新情報を発表できる機会をいただけてとても嬉しく思います。早速ですがこちらをご覧ください。
Alright, I'm looking.
Several years ago, the Dark Dragon, youngest of the divine dragon gods, wreaked havoc across the world. The plot was ultimately thwarted through the efforts of a sole ninja. However, the Dark Dragon's husk remained, and from this husk fell an endless downpour of cursed rain. The abandoned Tokyo continues its struggle against chaos to this day.
Oh, it's a ninja game.
Facility. Commencing mission. No escape.
Okay. Looks very old school console, no? Yeah, this is like very, I mean, it's not dated, but it is old school sort of what you, if you remember like 10 years ago or so, you know, this was sort of bog standard console gaming. Very action combat, and you could sort of hover in the air depending on how many combos you could pull. You could increase your air time and stuff of that nature. Like that, for example. That sort of thing.
It ends here.
So you've come, Raven.
Fuck off, Hayabusa. I will execute my mission.
Ninja Gaiden 4. And with figurines to buy as well. Just for the extra money, you know.
最強の忍者となり容赦なく襲い来る敵に挑むハイスピードアクション忍者ガイデンのナンバリング最新作として忍者ガイデン4を発表させていただきました。本作はプラチナゲームズさんとの協業で開発を進めています。
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a very good
プ
trailer.
ラチナゲームズさんの
I think if you're someone that cares about games like this, you're obviously gonna love it, right? It's not my type of game, but it does look like it's a good game.
忍者ガイデン
Looks like people will enjoy it.
の時を超えて新たに皆様にお届けするにあたりより多くの方に新鮮な気持ちでプレイしていただけるよう新たな世界を新主人公であるもう一人の町人ヤクモで冒険するという形で制作することにしました。先ほどご覧いただいた映像の中で竜はやぶさも登場しておりましたが彼は今回も物語に密接に関わってきます。なぜヤクモと戦うことになったのか竜はやぶさが戦う目的は何なのか本作の物語の中で展開していきます。
任務は必ず成し遂げる。邪魔をするな。
物語は黒龍がもたらした正気の雨によって荒廃した首都東京が舞台となっています。この雨は黒龍がまだ生きている証であり雨が止まない限り東京に安寧は訪れません。
No, it doesn't look bad at all.
新主人公でありはやぶさと対をなす
The thing is, I'm definitely not like a graphical or a graphics purist.
戦いに身を投じます。
For me, as long as the art direction of the game works,
これまで忍者ガイデン
that's all that matters. And you can clearly see the art direction they wanted to take, and it works, right? It works for what they want to do with it. So I have no problem with any of this.
ステージプレイ中に街が呪いの影響を受けビルは崩れ道は歪みヤクモをピンチに陥れることでしょう。舞台となる東京はとある出来事によって
Metacool, how you doing, sir?
魔族やヤクモと敵対する勢力がひしめき合う状態になっており環境全体が
I'm not reading any of the things they're saying. I'm just looking at the graphics going, oh nice, let's go, next game.
前作より 立体的に自由度の増した危険に満ちたステージを忍具やシリーズおなじみの体術など忍者アクションを駆使して乗り越えていくことになります。レールアクション、スイングアクションなどのダイナミックで爽快なシチュエーションを多く追加しました。これら以外にもさまざまなシチュエーションやチャレンジ、隠されたアイテムなどを用意しており、ステージが進むごとに上がっていくテンションにも驚いていただけると思います。
You see, Grofal, I'm not that in love with Eastern culture, so I don't care about playing as a ninja.
新しい主人公のヤクモは竜ハヤブサに次ぐ新たな町人です。彼にはまだ若さも残っていますが、カラス一門を背負う天才忍者でもあり、忍者外伝シリーズにおける忍者の頂点、竜と肩を並べる次世代の町人たり得る人物としてデザインしています。そんなヤクモの前に立ちふさがるのは、
before today,
東京の維持組織である黒竜の
I'm looking forward to Clear Obscure. And I guess the new Doom as well. But I'm sort of open-minded to what we get. We'll see.
また現時点では公開していませんが、新たな
I don't care about Skyrim. I don't care.
人物も登場しますので、続報にご期待ください。
従来のシリーズからバトルスピードをさらに加速させ、目にも止まらぬスピードで敵との攻防を繰り広げることができます。
There you go.
さらにヤクモが使える新要素、結節忍術ヌエの型を駆使したダイナミックな攻撃によって、
Yeah, I think Doom info would be really good.
進化した一対他の戦闘を可能にしました。ヌエの型ではこれまでの忍者ガイデンにはない広範囲かつ一撃必殺の攻撃となっており、多勢に無勢の状態が長く続く戦況を一気に覆すことができます。
You're welcome today.
もちろん1対1の戦闘における比率きも健在です。プレイヤー同様、敵もガードや回避をしてくるため、緊張感のあるフェアな戦闘を味わうことができます。敵の動きをしっかりと捉えながら、
I do. Wait, are you guys talking about
仕掛けていくことが重要です。
Elder Scrolls 6?
さらなる進化を感じられるかと。
When you guys say Skyrim, is that what you're talking about? Elder Scrolls 6?
特にアクションに関しては手触り、バランス調整など細部にわたり日々
Please tell me you're not talking about Elder Scrolls 6.
本作の主人公であるヤクモは竜とは一味違うアクションを有していますが、その中でも
Or is it 5 or whatever the new one
感
is?
じていただけると思います。
Because that one, that's never coming out. Like, that's never coming out. You know that little cinematic you saw a few years ago? That's about as far as development is on that game. So you guys can just, chill the hell out.
抑揚あるスピーディーな攻防などはもちろんヤクモでも健在です。
ヤクモと竜ハヤブサはそれぞれがかなり異なる個性的な遊び心地になっていますので、さまざまな戦闘バリエーションを楽しむことができるようになっています。
I'll be war. TS6 is not 2 to 3 years away. I'm willing to bet everything you will not get that game in 2 or 3 years. There's no shot. There's no shot. They showed one shit cinematic, and since then there's been nothing. Not a rumor, not a whisper, nothing. No.
総力を挙げて開発を進めております。
容赦ない敵とのいかなる攻防にも
You see something that none of us want? Emery, that's I think what they're gonna do. The Howard is making more Starfield shit. Only this time, the next DLC introduces 10,000 new planets, all of them explorable, and what's more, it just works. That's the next DLC.
ついに発表することができて、
It's called Starfield: The Milky Way.
2025年秋に本作を皆様にお届けできるのを楽しみにしています。続報にもぜひご期待ください。さて、本日お伝えしたい発表はそれだけではありません。こちらをご覧ください。
I don't think they're making Starfield Starfield DLC for the next 10 years. Why? No one's playing that game. Like, what are they trying to achieve? If they want Starfield to work, they have to rework it. Rigging, you're not wrong. I remember we were watching the announcement for Starfield live on stream years ago. And when he announced 1,000 explorable planets, I said to my chat, not possible. You're gonna get 1,000 shit planets. That you will not get 1,000 planets that are interesting to explore. No way. It would be a hell of a lot better if you literally took those thousands of planets and made 10 and put all of the story on those 10 planets. That would work. But to try and force this 1,000 planets to explore empty as shit, what's the point? Because I don't know if you've, like, when's the last time you've actually explored a planet on Starfield?
本作忍者ガイデン2ブラックではオリジナル版の表現に立ち戻り、アンリアルエンジン5を用いてグラフィックを大幅に刷新。忍者ガイデン2の完全版として
Being constipated is more fun.
綺麗なグラフィックでお楽しみいただけるのはもちろん、リュウハヤブサに加え、アヤネ、モミジ、レイチェルもプレイブルキャラクターとして登場します。そして本作は本日コンソール、PC、そして Xbox ゲームパスでこの後すぐに発売となります。忍者ガイデンシリーズを長年応援いただいている皆様はもちろんのこと、本日忍者ガイデンを知っていただいた皆様も忍者ガイデン4の発売前に
Oh, the Ninja Gaiden games are available on Xbox Game Pass today. Oh.
今年はチーム忍者創立30周年の節目であり、本日発表させていただいた忍者ガイデン4を含め2025年は忍者の年、イヤーオブザ忍者となります。ぜひ忍者ガイデンシリーズの展開にご注目ください。本日はありがとうございます。
So yeah, if you're looking to play Ninja Gaiden games, they're available. I think he said 2. Ninja Gaiden 2 is available on Game Pass right now, or the remake rather. Yeah. Oh, here we go. The wokest of the woke games. Let's do this. Here we go, boys.
Hi, and welcome to Compulsion Games here in Montreal, Canada. At our studio, we care about world building, and we treat the setting almost like a character of its own. From the magical noir of contrast to the alternate history of We Happy Few, we draw inspiration from the landscape to shape mood, drama, and intrigue. For South of Midnight, our third-person action-adventure game, the story and characters bring a folkloric Deep South to life. This gave us a chance to explore Southern Gothic themes with a dark fantasy twist. So while our protagonist Hazel is at the forefront of our story, it's the macabre elements and larger-than-life creatures that will leave a mark on her journey and growth.
It is really picking up out there. Did you pack everything?
Mama, this ain't my first hurricane. I know what to do.
As long as you didn't forget the
flashlights and batteries.
Oh, shit, we got 5 minutes. Let's go.
We wouldn't be rushed if you didn't.
Don't mumble. Speak on it.
I said we wouldn't be rushed if you didn't waste all that time at the shelter.
Now? You want to bring this up right now?
I'm just saying.
Hazel, please.
We might need some help. I might need some help. While you're out helping everybody else.
Hazel!
Hazel may start her journey as a typical 19-year-old, but disastrous events will push her into a darkly magical world where she'll learn who she really is and how to tap into weaving, an ancient magical power that redefines her trajectory in life.
The land itself chooses Hazel as a weaver. Someone who can see beyond the surface and tap into a deeper reality. the grand tapestry. Weavers can see the fabric binding our world, connecting people, nature, and echoes of the past.
Keep those hands to yourself.
Hazel can perceive both the mystical strands and stigmas in the world. Through her newfound power, she reweaves these stigmas and mends the afflicted creatures she encounters.
As Hazel discovers her power, the world gradually shifts into the surreal, revealing that creatures from the old folktales actually exist.
You up here, my salvation.
Among them is good old Catfish, the storyteller who becomes both the guide and companion to Hazel across the game.
It ain't every day I hear about a new weaver such as yourself. Would you kindly do your weaver thing and help me down?
Meeting Catfish marks the true beginning of Hazel's journey. All of Hazel's arsenal and powers are designed around textile crafting and traditional spinning wheels. Her weapons include a spindle, 2 weaving hooks, and a distaff. Her magic abilities manifest with supernatural lace-like patterns, blending the traditional craft with mystical elements. Hazel engages with the world through a variety of movement abilities. Those abilities also help Hazel progress on a journey.
As her journey unfolds, Hazel will master new weaving abilities, using them to traverse the world, conjure objects, and confront adversaries.
Combat is about understanding and adapting to different enemy archetypes known as Haints, the manifestations of corruption Hazel encounters.
These Haints trap Hazel in combat until she unravels them.
I'll say this because I want us to hear this, so I'm gonna pause a little bit here. I'll say this: I don't think just because you have a black girl as the main character that doesn't make the game woke. I'm yet to hear like super woke stuff in the game. I'll say the same here as I said with Ciri in Witcher 4. The problem is that the overwhelming majority of gamers that would play this game are male. The numbers don't lie. I mean, I've shown you the research on this. Male and female are equal only if you include mobile. The second you exclude mobile, there are about 66 point something % of all female gamers play exclusively on mobile. And even then, so if you include mobile, about 53% of all gamers are male, 46 point something % are female. 66% of those female gamers play exclusively on mobile. So you already have a very, very tiny group of female gamers that will play games like this, right? That's not even looking at the types of games and the genres and the like. So making a choice to make a female protagonist is already going to exclude a lot of guys that just don't want to play it. Tomb Raider, for example, one of my favorite IPs out there, suffered from the same problem. Even though Tomb Raider is a phenomenal game, most guys don't want to play as a girl. And so Tomb Raider, being phenomenal, didn't help with sales. The games were never going to be blockbuster releases because, well, you have a female protagonist. And what are you supposed to do? The reason male protagonists work is because there's so many more males in the video game industry playing video games, right? And some girls also like playing as male characters, they don't really mind it. That's not really the problem. The problem that I have with this game is that I'm yet to see something that makes me go, wow, I kind of want this. Or I kind of, like, nothing yet has wowed me about the game. It all just looks a little generic. Like, oh, you know, just another game.
Destroying them in the process.
Each Haint has its own unique moveset, strengths, and weaknesses that you'll need to learn and adapt to. For example, the slug burrows on the ground and unleashes devastating strikes from afar, while the Ravager closes the distance with chilling speed. Hazel can counter these threats with agile melee abilities to execute powerful combos, jump attacks, and charge attacks. But close combat is risky and can backfire because Haints have powerful defensive abilities. Mastering your magical skills becomes the key.
The combat looks
upper end in combat.
not too bad, actually.
Push, pull, and weave are some of the spells at your disposal that give you a tactical advantage during a fight. Timing is everything. Pull distant enemies close to start melee combos, push them back to interrupt and stun their attack.
Although it does look a little formulaic, like sort of combo stuff. You just sort of
each enemy type.
You're gonna it looks like the kind of game where you're gonna find one combo and you're just gonna continuously do that over and over again because that's gonna be the right way to play.
Unraveled, breaking their core and setting them free of their corruption, which has the added benefit of providing L boosts and reducing ability cooldowns.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. This looks mega better than Forspoken. Forspoken was shit.
As Hazel progresses,
This looks a lot better than that.
New moves and improved abilities, and you'll have to decide which areas to prioritize. The upgrades will change how you approach combat, like enhancing area of effect attacks, or refining push and pull skills to improve precision and make them feel more rewarding. The combat system is fast and responsive, built around chaining attacks, landing precise strikes, and unraveling enemies.
You mind if I take a look around?
You can see every place old Molly terrorized and more. Now for the low, low price of $1.
In Hazel's search for her mother, you'll explore multiple regions, each ruled by a mythical creature with their own Southern Gothic history. You'll gradually uncover the backstories of these beings, once human or animal, who were transformed by tragedy, their secrets waiting to be discovered. As a weaver, Hazel heals these creatures by collecting fragments of haunted memories. We call these echoes, which reveal each creature's past. Hazel must experience these echoes before she can mend them.
What kind of person would do that to someone?
We design each region to reflect the creature that's been doomed to wander it. From the atmospheric environment to
I will say the thing that
composed
I think I understand now what puts me off.
all encounters.
I think I understand what is it that puts me off. There's a sort of constant feel-good throughput. You don't kill the enemies. You set them free from their corruption. You're healing them. Let me kill shit.
Lead to direct combat. Hazel will need to face mythical creatures in epic confrontation before she can heal them. Our boss encounters and gameplay sequences also reflects the uniqueness of each creature, with distinct mechanics that center around a specific thematic. These encounters feature multiple phases that ramp up in complexity. As the encounters progress, the musical theme builds up, cranking the tension alongside
The music is pretty good, actually.
Whether it's Two-Toed Tom,
I mean, listen to the music, you'll be listening. It's kind of nice.
Larger-than-life creatures is inspired by Southern folklore and lead to climactic battles.
We got a long journey ahead.
South of Midnight unfolds as a hero's journey, and as Hazel, you'll travel through a tapestry of Southern-inspired landscapes. From abysmal swamps to flooded farmlands to the Appalachian peaks. In our magical South, decaying buildings reclaimed by nature stand moments away from a hungry Rugal. And as Hazel delves deeper, reality bends ever more toward the fantastical.
The history, landscape, and folklore of the American Deep South fill our world, and our team has infused the game with thoughtful details and environmental storytelling, like our bottle trees and haint blue porches, which are said to ward off evil spirits. The Way to the Past emerges as central themes, which you can see through old abandoned buildings and businesses struggling to survive. As you explore, you'll meet locals who stayed behind even in the face of a hurricane.
So I'm the last person left here. All those damn haints. This part of the river's filthy with them.
Artistically, we're staying true to our Moody Compulsion signature style. But this time, we're using a handcrafted approach inspired by stop-motion animation.
I think people should remember you're playing in the Deep South, right? So you're playing sort of through stories and myths, probably very much infused with sort of Haitian culture, most likely a lot of African stories and sort of myths that traveled over. So I think all of this fits, right? Like the character fits. The character makes sense for the setting that they designed it for. As far as I'm concerned, that's fine. Like I said before, I'm just not seeing anything that wows me yet, at least. Like, none of this... It's not like when I saw the trailer for Dawnwalker. When I saw the trailer for Dawnwalker, I was like, oh, I need to play this game. Right? Thus far, none of this has made me go, I need to play this game.
Which allows our team to bring a distinct personality and tone into every prop and character. Because this folklore is open to visual interpretation, we embrace the freedom to reimagine these creatures and their stories, to adapt how they look, and to craft our own version of a fantastical Deep South.
At Compulsion Games, we love to craft around central themes. We're lucky to have talent across all our disciplines that collaborate to give South of Midnight such a unique personality. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into South of Midnight. We're thrilled to announce that the game will launch on April 8th, and pre-orders are now available on Xbox and Steam.
Good luck. Good luck, bro. What's next? Handful. Now this I'm excited for. Let's go.
Bonjour everyone. We are Sunfall Interactive and welcome to our manor. We are a small studio based in Montpellier, France, working on our first game, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It's a turn-based RPG set in the fantasy version of late 19th century Belle Epoque France.
Here we are.
Our grand adventure in game development actually started as a solo passion project. I wanted to create something like the JRPGs with turn-based combat I grew up with and loved, but that fully leveraged the latest tech, refreshed the genre with new features, and took place in a compelling world. I knew I needed help to realize my dream. First, I turned to a programmer I knew would get it.
Guillaume and I started trading ideas right away. And
that's 2 men and no woman. Ah, where's the diversity, you bitches? But what I love about this game is how bold they are. Take an idea that has effectively died in the AAA space. No AAA developer is doing this anymore. Even your old sort of Square Enix days, right, with Final Fantasy, they even moved away from this sort of thing. They started going more into the action combat scene and all the rest of it. And this guy's going, nah, bro, I want to go back to those days. I want to do turn-based, reactive, turn-based combat.
And that quickly turned into trading files back and forth. Soon, I was creating the first prototypes of the reactive turn-based system, combining real-time offense and defense element, and a cinematic battle camera system. Things really clicked when we tested the first version of those features. We felt we had something both challenging and
that's cool,
actually. Tom and I went back and forth and iterated on game elements. A vision started to come together, and I shared it with an old friend from university.
Oh, another man.
Are both passionate gamers, and when he described the project, I quit my job the following week and joined the team without hesitation. Because I believe that in video games, success always starts with a strong creative vision. And we had that, defined by 3 core elements. A story with great emotional depth, gameplay that innovates on the classics we love, and a world that is completely original, beautiful, and immersive. We founded Sunfall Interactive on these tenets. A group of friends with a shared vision and the drive to make something great.
This too is your legacy. Core to every great RPG.
There we go. Finally a woman.
And Guillaume and I spent 4 years.
Yay, chat. Let's get some hands.
And that started with the hook.
Finally have a woman developer.
67 years ago, a massive slumbering paintress and a monolith appeared with no warning.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Once a year, the paintress
also,
and paints a number on.
The game is saved now. This woman is not French, which is obviously good. Because there's way too much French in this fucking studio. as of yet. So I'm happy to see that there's at least a little non-fringe here. But no, I'm super, super excited for this game because it feels bold. It feels like they're going, hey, let's see what we can do here. Let's see what we can do here.
Her monolith, and everyone who has passed that age is erased. Every year that number ticks down, and everyone dies younger and younger. Expeditions depart to kill the Paintress, determined...
Oh, I don't know if you guys heard this, but so the concept behind the game, the main story, you have this creature that sits on top of the city, looking over the whole city, and there's this clock that keeps ticking down. And when the clock reaches a number, so say, for example, 34, everyone that is 34 dies. That's sort of the main theme of the game, which to me is just like, whoa, why?
to fight until their final breath, but none have ever returned. Our story follows Expedition 33.
Expeditioners, we honor your dedication.
Guillaume and I knew early on that we didn't want to focus on good versus evil. What's interesting to us are people who, yes, are flawed, but who care deeply about each other. And conflicts arise because they have different perspectives on what needs to be done.
I'm sorry about Aria.
We wanted our story to feel dark and mature, with adult characters who feel like real people with real experiences.
I'm always missing something that everyone else just gets.
The heart of the story is about overcoming an existential threat while struggling with loss and grief. And it's rooted in the characters' relationships, both to each other and to themselves.
What are we gonna do, huh? Tell me. What are we gonna do?
In a world like this, how does one stay hopeful or make peace with their fate? What duty do we owe to each other or to ourselves? These questions are deeply personal to me, and they permeate the story behind the story.
Not necessarily, Roy King. So, focusing on good versus evil, if you're a very good writer, beautiful. If you're not a good writer, it might be important to kind of blur the lines a little bit, because otherwise what you fall into is just the bog standard Hollywood-esque fest of nonsense. I was watching this interview with George R.R. Martin, where he spoke about why he himself, and I mean, this is George R.R. Martin, that explained why he doesn't do the whole good versus evil characters in his book, and why all of his characters are incredibly nuanced. Even the bad guys are very, very nuanced. And he said, the last writer that was actually able to land that ultimate good versus evil story was Tolkien. And he said, you need to be incredibly good as a writer to tell that story and make it work. And he says, basically, since Tolkien, every writer in Hollywood has scrambled to make a budget version of that, and they don't even do it well. So I actually think if it's your first game, maybe try not to go too close to that good versus evil narrative. Now, obviously, there is an evil here. The thing that they're fighting is the evil. But I think what they're more doing is they don't want their characters to be ultra defined by it. So none of their characters are going to be just good. The characters are going to be flawed. They're going to be good insofar as they're trying to stop this clock, but they have flaws. They have things that they do that they shouldn't be doing. They have mistakes, which is probably a good idea.
Know that Lumiere fights with you. Tomorrow comes Expedition 33.
The characters all have their own motivations and perspectives. Gustave and Lune are deeply invested in the expedition, even if they fight all the time. To them, the mission is tied not only to their family, it's central to their identity and purpose.
Protocol doesn't cover every contingency. You know that.
Contrast that with Ciel, whose darkest days have already happened.
What are the stars whispering to you? Actually,
I'm the one whispering to them. It's something my dad and I used to do.
Naomi, who cares more about really living her life, not just living longer.
Gustav, are you...
Yeah, I'm ready for this game as well. We're going to be playing this on
It's
stream.
not all dark, though. Along the way, they meet various colorful NPCs and recruit Monoko, who is a friendly but kinda bloodthirsty philosopher and a fully playable character. He has a really cool battle mechanic where he can turn into the enemies he defeats.
What are you doing?
Just need the foot. Aha!
He's very, very old and has seen many expeditions come and go.
Holy
He
crap.
is a Jestroll, which are a group of playful beings who view battle as a form of meditation. They're fun and sort of ridiculous. You'll meet Monoko and many other Jestrolls across the game. And of course, there is Esquier, who is one of the oldest and lore-wise the most powerful creatures in the verse.
Esquier is that powerful?
He will be your mount and help you travel to secret corners of the world. And if you bring him back his special stones, you can unlock abilities for him to access new areas of the world and find exciting secrets.
I'm strong, but I'm not that strong.
Everyone has their own reason for joining the expedition, and each of them has their own story arc and resolution that we think players will really connect with.
In addition to a strong narrative, we had a clear vision for our own take on the genre's core gameplay. Our reactive turn-based system takes the traditional turn-based battle
Here we go.
mechanic we love and adds real-time reaction, which gives combat greater intensity and dynamism. During enemy turns, you can negate all damage by dodging or parrying at the right time. The balancing turn-based with real-time mechanics
Montpellier?
get right. During initial
Montpellier?
playtests, turn-based players
Miara?
often found the real-time elements too hard. Some of us are still traumatized by enemies from back then. We've done a lot of rebalancing since, and with a lot of iteration, we ultimately came up with a formula that we're proud of. Players who are good at real-time can take more risks, and others can counterbalance with items and strategies. A big part of that formula lies in the many ways you can customize your character.
Okay.
We spend a lot of time designing each character's unique mechanics and their custom skill trees. Our philosophy is making every type of playstyle viable so that everyone can have fun with how they play the game. Each character has a unique mechanic. Mel switches between stances which can alternately boost defense or power. I personally like to make Mel the protector of the group, but I'm pretty much the only one at the studio who plays her that way. Most people play her as a glass cannon with Gustav's complementary skills. The characters can also equip hundreds of passive effects.
What the hell? Look at those. Look at those abilities, some passive
Every
effects.
character has more than 20 unique skills in their skill tree and hundreds of passive effects. They can gain through Lumina and weapons. So there are a ton of builds and playstyle to explore. Needless to say, we can't wait to see how you choose to play and what kinds of build you'll design that we probably never even imagined.
All right, I'm on board. I want this game. How do you guys feel?
Our story is set in the French fantasy world, and I was really excited to design something unique.
Finally, another non-French word.
Every level has
or
its
voice.
own color and texture identity. For example, the Jestroll Village is an early area in the game where players can enjoy a fun break. We wanted something that feels chaotic, grungy, and toy-like. It's basically a bazaar. Everything's disorganized, chaos everywhere, huts are unsafe, built without much thought. It's a place where anyone could fight you at any point, which is pretty much what the Jestrolls.
I don't know. Have any of you ever watched the movie Grown Ups? Is it Grown Ups? I think it's Grown Ups, where you have Vince Vaughn in the ocean, and there's a shark circling him, and there's this French guy that is telling him to just remain calm and just, not get to, because he basically maced all of the fish. He spilled all of the fish, and now there's blood all around him, and there's a shark coming. And he says to this French dude, Michelle, get the French out of your mouth and do something. That's kind of how I felt here. Like, just so much French. So it's good to see some other people here. I'm going to play it for sure. If the writing is good, it would do fine. Well, yeah, I think so too.
Are like.
The
Gestral Village is hidden inside the ancient sanctuary. The ideas here were forest, labyrinth, and sentinels. I designed it as a vibrant place, like an old graveyard of Gestrals, or forgotten wooden toys in a box, with two main
I love the
colors,
graphics.
red and white.
I love the
I
themes.
wanted to make it feel cozy, hidden from danger, with traps and labyrinths in case enemies get in. Same process with the characters. Minoko came in a single concept. I thought of a monkey-like body, white fur with a black and red flat mask.
Ladies, could I?
Ow!
Definitely a Gestral.
For SK, we needed a cuddly companion to take us around the world. I thought instantly of a giant inflatable balloon and old Victorian pillows with many intricate motifs. We start with the core themes and ideas, and the visuals grow organically from there.
From the very start of the project, there was one thing that we absolutely wanted to bring back from older JRPGs. A feature we really loved, but is very rare these days. A completely 3D and navigable world map. Yes, we've got a world map. And it was a real challenge to create, both artistically and technically. And it ended up a lot bigger than we expected. You'll definitely need SK's help traveling around.
Here we go.
We're super happy with the result, though, as there's a lot of side paths and entire hidden levels. If you want to fight the toughest bosses of the game, you will have to explore. Good luck.
Okay.
We've poured our hearts and souls into this game for the past 4 years. That's why we're delighted to announce that Expedition 33 launches on April 24th on Xbox Series X and S and is available day one with Xbox Game Pass. You can already wish
Dude,
the
that's
game
close.
and follow us for more info.
That's
We're
close.
super excited to invite you into the world of Expedition 33. We are a small, passionate team. It's our debut game, and we can't wait for you to discover our story, our world, and our take on the turn-based genre. On behalf of everyone at Sunfall, thank you for joining us. Tomorrow comes.
Demain viendra.
Tomorrow comes.
Demain viendra.
Demain viendra.
Tomorrow comes.
I like it. Here we go. It's Doom, I think. Music immediately has me.
Hello, and welcome to Dallas, Texas, home of id Software, where more than 30 years ago, a small team of game developers helped define and set a course for first-person shooters. A lot has changed since then, but our team is as passionate as ever. And the most important values at the core of our games, innovation, craftsmanship, and performance, remain a priority for us to this day.
And as you're about to see, those values are infused in every aspect of this latest installment in the legendary Doom franchise. It is an honor to work on this game, to carry on id's tradition of creating all-out, groundbreaking levels of fun.
So now, we're excited to share with you a look at our most ambitious game yet. This is Doom: The Dark Ages.
That was so stupid I mouthed the words.
Oh yeah, we saw the cinematic for this. This looked very cool.
In Doom: The Dark Ages, you will feel like the superweapon in the center of a medieval war against hell. Set in a cinematic sci-fi fantasy world full of locations to explore, powerful weapons to unlock, and enemies to conquer. This is a prequel to Doom 2016, and that's given us the opportunity to reimagine every aspect of this experience. So if you're new to the franchise, then Doom: The Dark Ages will be the perfect entry point into the series. And if you're a longtime fan, then you'll be proud to see, in a lot of ways, the feel of the game is really a return to form. So let's break it down, starting with the combat. In Doom Eternal, you felt like a fighter jet. In Doom: The Dark Ages, you'll be an iron tank. Heavy, strong, but still fast. A grounded combat system with an emphasis on power over the acrobatics of Doom Eternal. And a balance between enemy projectiles and player movement speed that makes strafing to aim viable again, just like in the classic Doom games. But it's not all about nostalgia. Innovation is the goal, always. And so for Doom: The Dark Ages, it's an all-new world with new tools and new mechanics to master. Let me introduce you to the Shield Saw. Block. Throw. Parry. Deflect. All from one input. It's contextual, tons of depth on a single button press. You know, we want every Doom game to stand on its own as a unique experience. So in 2016, we asked you to run and gun. In Doom Eternal, it was jump and shoot. And in Doom: The Dark Ages, you're gonna stand and fight.
I mean, it looks good.
And the Shield Saw will give you the strength to go head-to-head with some of the biggest, baddest demons we've ever created at id. But that's not all. Because if you're gonna stand and fight, then you gotta have something to follow up that opening parry with. How about an iron flail? Or maybe an electrified gauntlet? Or even a Doom spiked mace? That's right, we have 3 melee options that are part of a melee system. All on one input, complete with combos and upgrades. And it's totally awesome. And you can finish off the demons now with an all-new, unsynced, completely in the player's control glory kill system. From any angle, in and out, as you see fit. And it feels amazing. You'll feel unstoppable, smashing your way through the horde with total freedom. And that seems like a ton, but that's just 2 inputs. We got one more really important button that we haven't talked about yet. The trigger.
Holy hell. Just killing you everything. Look at that.
We've saved the best for last. Doom has and always will be all about the guns. And Dark Ages has some of the most ridiculously powerful weapons that we've ever created.
Dude, I can feel my testosterone rising. Like, holy shit.
Ancient. Brutal torture machines built to butcher, impale, and shred the minions of hell with. Only in Doom. That's the mission statement for the design of these never-before-seen, insanely fun-to-use tools of
looks
mayhem
good.
that only the Slayer has the power to wield. So let's take a look at some extended gameplay footage and see how these medieval mechanics.
Miara, we'll see what else they announced, but I wouldn't hold my
the
breath.
new combat loop for Doom: The Dark Ages.
Yeah, your pronouns is based and your gender is AF. Gentlemen, how you doing? Dude, this is so cool. Just let me screw everything.
And under the hood, for the first time in an id game, we've made our combat more approachable and flexible than ever before, with a new difficulty system and sliders that will allow players to tune the speed.
Bro, that's actually cool. You want to make your game basically Souls-like? Just turn all of that shit way down. Or you want to make it a little bit easier for yourself and just enjoy the story, go for it. That's not bad.
And challenge the game to whatever fits them best. You can slow things down or speed them up. It's a Doom for all Slayers.
And the gameplay doesn't end with just the Slayer. We finally have for you, you've been waiting for 2 games now, to get in and pilot your very own 30-story Atlan, which is a mech. It's the size of a building, it's powerful, and you can beat giant Titan-sized demons to death with your gauntleted fist.
Bro!
If that wasn't enough, we also have for you your very own fire-breathing, Gatling gun-toting cybernetic dragon. Neither of these are one-and-done features either. They have a full suite of abilities and even mini-bosses. The spectacle is epic. The Power Fantasy is unlike anything we've made it in. And the combat systems behind these features are deep and tons of fun.
Oh, look at the size of that gun!
And as cool as all that is, we know that fans of single-player action games expect more than just great combat to pull them through the experience. So we're excited to share with you not just the gunplay, but the world of Doom: The Dark Ages. Your hero's journey will take you to the far reaches of the Doom universe. Mysterious worlds from the Slayer's past, dark forests, dungeons, ancient hellscapes, battlefields, and worlds beyond. And through exploration, you'll be unlocking new abilities and godlike powers every step of the way. Now armed with your trusty shield saw, you're gonna cut, leap, and smash your way through environments full of secrets and treasures. There's always something new waiting to be discovered or destroyed. Now let's
the graphics is also really good. Like the art direction is awesome.
Many missions you'll experience in Doom: The Dark Ages. In this level, you will meet the enemy at the gates and save a city from certain destruction. Explore the medieval battlefield outside the castle walls, seeking out targets and enemy formations along the way to engage with as you see fit, with any gun you choose. Explore what is the largest play space ever in a Doom game, discovering secret caves and dungeon-like mines in search of vital resources. You control the pace of the game, where you go, who you fight, and the objectives you pursue. It's a Doom sandbox full of war and riches. Once you've broken the enemy assault, head back to the main gates, because the battle isn't over yet.
Oh, here we go. Well, that thing's not small. Get the mech! Get the mech!
And the soundtrack to your epic adventures will be composed by the award-winning team at Finishing Move, providing you with a metal soundscape that's loaded with guitars, medieval vibes, and pure adrenaline. You'll feel like you're expanding the legend of the Slayer with every mission you complete. And speaking of that legend, the story of Doom: The Dark Ages, like everything else in the game, is big. It's a summer blockbuster event with everything on the line, and you are the star of the show. Your power is coveted by your enemies and withheld from your allies. With the Slayer imprisoned at the start of our story, the balance of power between good and evil is shifting, and time is running out. It's a new story and the perfect entry point for new players. It's easier to access now as we've taken the narrative out of the codex and into the cutscenes, featuring new characters, old allies, and powerful new villains. And for returning players, it leads directly into the Doom 2016 Slayer's Testaments. It's an action story worthy of the Slayer's legend.
We've got 10 years of making modern Doom games together, and we've done better with every game we've made.
The hope with all this, the goal, is to give players an experience that's as fun to play as it was to make, and make something that's good enough to become the best game id has ever made.
But that is for you to decide. When Doom: The Dark Ages releases this May.
May 15th. Dude. I'm ready for this.
cannot move.
This is so
You will feel like the superweapon in the center of a medieval war against hell.
I'm assuming I'm just gonna wait to see if there's maybe an extra bit,
The combat system
like
is built around
something
chaining
extra.
attacks and unraveling enemies.
Our reaction to Dark Ages, May 15th, which, by the way,
No, there's nothing extra. This was not as good as last year's. Well, to be fair, I saw a bunch of people complaining about the sort of presentation of this, and I would like to point out that from a presentation perspective, this was a developer's direct, not the game showcase. Green Tea, how you doing? Remember, the game showcase is where they just show games. So they just have trailer after trailer after trailer after trailer. This is the developer one. So this is where the developers actually get to explain what their games are all about and what's going to go on in those games. I do agree with you. I'm not entirely sure what the reason for this particular thing is. Because it's not... I'm not sure what you're supposed to be selling here, right? So unless it's a game that I'm already super excited for, like Doom, like the minute they announced that this is Doom, I was like, well, okay, I want to play this. But then for most of the other games, like Midnight, South of Midnight, and this Gaiden thing, I was like, I don't care, right? Like, I don't care, so I don't care about what they're saying. I don't care about what's going on there. So I wonder if it wouldn't have been better to just show a bunch of like cutscenes or just a bunch of cinematics instead. But what I did like is on the Clair Obscur as well as on the Doom, hearing what the developers have to say, that was cool. Right? Because you got a lot more information about what's happening in those games. So I understand why the format is the way that it is. Remember, the big showcase is going to be, I think, June. Usually when they do it. June or July is usually when the Xbox Game Showcase happens. No, it's around Gamescom. When's Gamescom? Because I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks after Gamescom is when Xbox does the big showcase. That's where we'll probably see 30, 40 different like games again. And last year's was phenomenal. So hopefully this year will be good as well, right? Because last year we got a shit ton of games there. That was really, really good. Arias, how you doing, bro? With a sob story, how it's a passion project and they all immediately quit their previous jobs just to make the game? Abuar, but the game looks good. Out of all the studios, 4 seems a bit... Ember, so my thinking on that would be that they've left it to sort of the games that's ready to launch now. Because the other games that... Because last year they announced like over 30 games. And every single one of those games, I was like, oh man, let's go. I need those games. So I'm thinking we're probably going to get a bit more information at the game show, at the game expo for Xbox. That's when we'll find out of games that's coming out later this year. If there's even new games coming out later this year, like big games, obviously. But these games are the ones that's launching now. It was good. I had fun. What, did you guys not enjoy it? Only really like 2 of the 4 games shown. Well, yeah, but that's the sad part of it, right? You're never going to get all of the games to be good that they announce, right? Obviously. For me, Clair Obscur, really looking forward to it. And Doom, really looking forward to it. And I'm kind of thinking maybe I should play Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. Because I never played those. The only reason I was hyped for this is like we saw the cinematic last year for it, and I was like, oh dude, this looks so cool. I didn't even know that the Doom game still existed, if I'm honest with you. Because I'm not a first-person guy, so I don't follow first-person. So I was just like, Doom, who cares? But this looked good. I liked how Doom devs let the gameplay speak for itself. Yeah. So, okay, who here is excited for Clair Obscur? Psycho, how you doing, sir? Jam out to that music. Doom 2016 is great. Doom Eternal is good, but it's not as good. So I want to hear who's hyped for Clair Obscur. Expedition 33. I like turn-based, so I'm intrigued. Zergil, how you doing, bro? I'm interested. All right. I'm excited for all the games of today. Mine is Sounds of Midnight, South of Midnight. I don't know if I'm hyped. Clair Obscur, I am the most excited for, to be honest. Expedition 33, not my thing. Not hyped, but interested. I'm kind of in the same vein as you guys. My hype is more from an interest perspective. So it's not so much that I'm super hyped for the game, because I'm not sure if I'm going to like that style of combat. What got me interested in the Clair Obscur thing and why I'm hyped for it is the fact that I want to know if that kind of combat would be something that jives with me. Because I like the story very much, and I like the idea of the world very much. So I'm excited to see it. But, I mean, let's ask the obvious question. How many of you are hyped for Doom: The Dark Ages? I'm gonna assume pretty much everyone. Zion, how you doing, bro? I'm very curious about Clair Obscur. I'm hoping the story is pretty good. I just got home from the gym, and one of the guys on the treadmill was watching your videos while running. Wow. Nice. I go, hey, I'm happy to hear that. Definitely playing Doom, South of Midnight. Maybe I'll grab on sale. I'm hyped for Doom. You heard the French people speak and got all ooh la la, don't misdirect. Dude, there were no girls speaking with a French accent. So the French accent didn't win them any points here. I am on record as saying this. When you hear French dudes speak, it's like, dude, just quiet down. French girls is the one that guys like. Well, that I like. When a French girl speaks, that's the accent that makes you go, wow, I think I've just met my wife. But not the dudes. Like, the dudes is just a silly accent. Say the words correctly, you asshole. Doom is most excited. Looks awesome, but not really a hype. Hype means I really want to play it right now, to me. Didn't like Doom Eternal, ended so it's kind of a turn-off for the rest of the franchise. Great point, Echo. You heard him. Get on voice. I've played Doom, but Dark Ages look good. Yeah, Dark Ages definitely looks good. Cosmo, I played the original Dooms. Like the many years ago Dooms. I never played the new Dooms. You don't like both if they're French. Dude, it's like Australian accent. Guys speak with an Australian accent, it's like, oh, you criminal. That is a joke, by the way. But when a girl has an Australian accent, it's like, oh. Yeah, dude. I would have spoken French, but the French would be like QS. I don't know what you're saying. No, I'm definitely. Well, I think the thing I'm most excited for is the future of gaming. It feels like with Trump's election and with the recent victories that all of us have had, you know, like just in the gaming industry in general, and yes, I do call it victories. The fact that we have so many woke games that continue to fail I can't help but think that there might be a lot of people who wake up, and we may see we may finally see cracks in that sort of iron wall that California built around themselves. The echo chambers may finally be shattering, and you might finally see some studios wake up and go, wait, maybe the woke stuff isn't what gamers want, right? Maybe this isn't really the stuff that we should be focusing on. Maybe this isn't really the games that we should be focusing on. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. I feel like it will heal a bit, and we might see good storytelling again. If Doom Guy was France, we wouldn't see good... we wouldn't have gotten a second game. As long as people report the hidden DI that they are trying to hide, we will be fine, but we will need to keep fighting. They're going to die on that hill in California. Maybe Niara, but we can hope. So that's exactly my point, right? It's... So I was talking to my brother yesterday about the whole Gunnergate situation, right? People fighting to remove gooning from games, and my position on that is, if someone wants to put sexualization or over-sexualization or ultra-sexualization into their video game, that's their choice, right? I'm not here to censor games. I'm not here to tell games or developers what they can and cannot do with their own games. It's their games. Would I prefer it if that sexualization was removed from video games? Would I prefer it if, you didn't need to go into sex scenes and all the rest? Yeah, of course. I would prefer that. And if a game is just overtly super sexual the whole time, then I just won't play it, right? But I don't want to force it. And then my brother asked me, he was like, well, what's the difference? If you're okay with that, but you're not okay with DI and wokeness, what's the difference? Isn't that a conflict or a contradiction? Because you seem to care very much about woke and DI, but you don't seem to have the same sort of feelings about sexualization in video games. And the difference to me is this. The reason I don't fight developers on adding sexual scenes or sexualization into their games is because you can't hide that. There's an actual rating system. If your game contains sexual scenes or sexual imagery, it has to be on the box. You have to say ahead of time, this is in the game. I also don't mind it because these days, almost every game that comes out with it has a toggle to turn it off. But you don't have to see the nudity in the game if you don't want to see it. And they do it obviously for streamers, but it still exists. My problem with DEI and wokeness is they don't have to say anything. There's no way to know, and some games really go super obscure with it. Like, they try to hide the shit out of it. And that's my issue. Because if no one's calling it to account, because from my perspective, I'm not interested. I don't want developers to stop putting diversity, equity, and inclusion in their games. If you want to make the most woke game imaginable, absolutely go for it. But then don't blame me if the game fails because I didn't buy it. That's my problem. They keep making woke games, then we say, well, we don't actually want to play that. And then they go, well, the game isn't for you. And we go, okay, fine. Then the game fails, and then go, oh, these stupid racist white gamers. And it's like, dude, what the hell? I had nothing to do with your game. I told you I don't want to play this game. You said, cool, we don't want you to play the game. Now I'm being blamed for the game failing. What the hell is going on? Make your woke games, destroy your own companies, but don't blame me when that happens. I was being super honest with you from the start. And I view the job of YouTubers, like myself, like Smashin and Dimion and Vara Dark and all the rest of them, Savvy on X. I view the job of us to be the label. You know, like you have the M label on a game that says this game is mature and that says that there are sexual imagery. At this point, because there is no such label for woke, we are that label. Most of you have real jobs, right? You go to the office every single day. You don't have time to go scroll through all of their websites and their tweets to find that obscure little tweet that gives away that this is a woke company. So our job is basically to say, hey guys, this game's woke. You know, step away from it or whatever the case might be. So yeah, that's my sort of my sort of opinion on the woke stuff. And I do think there's more people. I think there's a lot of people that is against it, but that's afraid. And especially now, with all of these protection programs going away, because Donald Trump has basically just killed most of these protection programs, I feel like we may actually see a lot of developers now stand up and say, listen here, screw you. I don't want this. I don't want to make your stupid woke game. I want to make a good game. And instead of in the past, your entire life being ruined, being fired, and maybe even being sued, now nothing can happen to you. Because finally, we have a president in the world that went, hey, you know what? You know that thing that humanity has known for thousands of years since the beginning, that you know pretty much from the age of 2 that there are only 2 genders, male and female? That's going to be the official stance now. And people celebrated that. And I just thought to myself, dude, this is the most logical, rational, common sense thing you could ever say. Like, this should not even be news. The fact that it's news is sad, right? The fact that this had to be said is sad. It's the saddest thing in the world is that someone had to say it. Product that company receive money or loans from an ESG firm? Roy King, I would love to see that. I would actually love to see a rating system if a game takes money from any sort of DEI or, you know, political organization to make their game. That should be on the package. And also, if the game includes any characters that would be considered abnormal, right? And in this sense, abnormal just means not the norm. Right? So if you have trans characters, if you have gay characters, if you have lesbian characters, any characters that isn't considered sort of the majority characters, there should be a label that says, look, this is what's in the game. And for good reason. Kids play these games. Parents allow their kids to play these games, and parents have the right to know what it is that their kids are playing. And sadly, we don't have that. So this is where YouTubers come in, to hopefully tell parents, hey, maybe your kids shouldn't be playing this bullshit. Thundercool, wait, who is pro censorship? From my own experience as a Swedish developer, it all started going down with Gamergate 2014. We were essentially based on hiring based off social characteristics like gender and skin color instead of competence. It was basically a solution to avoid being in more mainstream media dramas, although it seems to have backfired after 10 years now. Well, it was always going to backfire, right? It was always going to backfire. A company can only exist if it's hiring the best possible people for the job. And I have no doubt that you're going to find women who are far better equipped at certain roles than there are men that are applying for that position. As long as everyone that is working on that on that project is the best possible people, I don't care who is working on the project. Bojan, because remember, most woke activists, and I really don't mean this to sound derogatory, It's not meant to be an insult. It is meant to be something that if you are woke, you should think about. Think about where wokeness started, where it came from, and where it developed from. Wokeness started, especially in America, in school, right? First in high schools, this got ported into universities, and today, wokeness is pretty much from primary school and up. Right? You have wokeness everywhere. Now, the one thing that this wokeness has is zero pushback. So you basically go through your entire high school career, your entire school career, being able to say the most asinine things and no one pushes back. No one tells you that you can't do this or you can't say that or asks you to defend your position, right? The idea is that the position defends itself. So, for example, if you ask a trans person, what makes you a woman, the answer will be trans women are women. That's not an answer, is it? Like, that's not an answer. That's a statement, but you have done nothing to qualify or explain the statement. Right? You've just given me a statement. And the reason they believe that that is sufficient, they're not lying. When they get angry at you for not understanding, they're not angry because they're fake. They genuinely don't understand how you don't understand it, right? They don't get it. It doesn't make sense to them because it's so obvious. It's what they know, right? And so this is why they get so angry and aggressive when they finally get into the real world and there are people who just do not want to conform, right? So there are people who just go, wait, why would I call you a woman? This makes them angry because they just went through an entire school system never having to answer that question in their entire lives. It was assumed, right? Whereas the rest of us live in a world where if you're going to say some stupid shit, like if I told all of you, well, I'm the greatest guy that's ever lived, your first question is going to be, well, why? And then my answer can't be, well, because I'm the greatest guy that ever lived. Because you will all tell me, no, you're not. What are you basing that on? What have you achieved? And then I would have to defend that position, right? Love you, bro, but can't people enjoy the things they enjoy? Concorella, the question is, when you say can't people enjoy the things that they enjoy, what are you referring to? So what exactly do you want people to enjoy? And what do you think I'm trying to take away from people that they enjoy? Our 50-50 of everything, hiring based on that, made all the gaps essentially much worse. I know some female programmers, they got paid double the male salary only to keep them around, to keep some American publisher happy, making games more expensive to develop, essentially leading to less games in the same amount of time as before. I think the thing that bothers me there is it does such a disservice to genuinely good female developers. Because you see it. Right? You see it with how sensitive some gamers have become. And I don't blame the gamers that are hypersensitive. You have 10 years of examples that prove that that's probably the right way to be. But you see it. A game comes out and it has a female lead. Or, they see a female developer and the immediate response due to just gamers being much better at pattern recognition is to go, oh wow, woke. And it might be that developer is phenomenal. Right? It's an absolutely insanely good female developer. But because of the damage that has been done, and woke, anti-woke, doesn't matter. Human beings like to generalize. It makes life easier. It's as human and as part of our survival as anything else. We generalize because why wouldn't I? I'm busy with other shit. I don't have time to just consistently qualify every single thing, right? And so once I see enough woke developers of a certain kind, I decide to generalize and say all developers from that kind is that, right? And then that's over. It's an easy enough judgment call for me to make. And now I can live my life. I can move on and I can think about actual things that matter. Some people insult me and telling me to quit my job. That does sadly happen, the Demoiselle. Can confirm I was pushed to take a women's and gender study course in like 2017. Same advisor who pushed it was a woman, but ignored me when I had trouble finding an internship for my major. Ember, you're not the first person I've heard say that. What did you study, by the way? Chris, you're probably not wrong. JTuber, not necessarily a fluke, more they're probably not ready to announce it yet. So that's why you don't see it. Plus, if you sort of look, not three, but it is sort of lesser known studios that was on this developer direct. I realize Doom is a big game, but id Software isn't a big studio. It's not like a super well-known studio outside of like very niche circles. They probably decided to just sort of move it to their own thing. Kind of, sort of give smaller studios that would normally not have the ability to speak to their player base the ability to speak to their player base, PF Job made every white male take a sensitivity course. Glad to hear him complain about that. Got to hear yeah, those courses don't work. And I can't agree about BG3. I stopped to play the game because my main character got hit on constantly by same-sex characters, got tired of it. Can't get the hype about the game. BG1+2, better in my opinion. So, Bojan, if you played the game right at the beginning, there was a bug in the game that was confirmed sort of, I think, 2 or 3 weeks after launch. They confirmed that there was a bug where it was specifically 2 of the male characters, so Gale and Asterion, would view every single conversation as romantic. Like, regardless of what you said, like, regardless of the choices that you made, the bug registered as you making the pro-romance choice. And I can say it wasn't just for male characters, it was for male and female characters. Like, the player character was consistently being romanced by Gale and Asterion, no matter what happened. Psycho Miku, 7 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you. You're far too kind, especially with Gale. Gale was terrible, Niara. Terrible. I studied IST. I was in the top of my class too, and the only goal. I was literally told I wouldn't get a job because I was white. My grades meant nothing. And what do you do now, Emberberry? And I will admit, I'm not entirely sure what IST is. My advisor to the IST department head, and I got an apology from him, but that was it. All that money. It's kind of sad. Information science and technology. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Information science and technology. That I know. That I do know. I'll say I don't mind. As I said before, I don't mind if you want to write gay characters into shows. Now, again, I am fully aware that you have different layers of anti-woke, right? You have the anti-woke people that are full-blown, zero that. I don't want any of it anywhere near me. Then you have what I would consider myself, where as long as what you've done adds to the story and makes the story fit the narrative as well as the setting and the time period within which the setting is located, as long as that makes sense, I don't really mind what you add to the game. You know, like, it doesn't bother me all that much because I can choose to not engage with that crap if I don't want to, right? That's my choice, and I can do that, and it doesn't bother me. As long as you don't destroy the narrative, as long as you don't destroy the story, I'm perfectly happy to let the developers do what they want to do, because I ultimately think it is important that developers design the games that they want to design, because that's when we get better games. If we start telling developers what they can and can't design, then what the hell are we doing, right? That's going to be terrible. I'm trying to say, I'm part of the I want organic characters and not checklist group. Epic Thulu, I'm pretty much there as well. Roy King, I think if you are going to make a character gay for the sake of it, them being gay should almost never be brought up. Right? It should almost not play a role. But if the character is going to be made gay, right, and you're going to make sure that everyone else knows that this character is gay, there must be a reason. It must make the world building make sense. It has to fit somewhere, because why would you? And I'll use the example that I've used before, because it's a good example. If you made a character that made it painfully obvious in every single interaction that you have with them that they're a straight white male, you would get annoyed. Everyone, even straight white men, would get annoyed and be like, dude, no one talks like this. Like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you doing this? No one speaks like this. And it's the same with just normal characters. And I always like to use Captain Anderson from Mass Effect. Captain Anderson was your superior officer in Mass Effect. He's a black man. Guess how many times Captain Anderson being black comes up in Mass Effect? In the whole of Mass Effect. All three of them. Because he plays major roles in all three of the Mass Effect games. Take a guess. How many times do you think you hear anything about him being black? Donald Trump quote inside game. Yara, that's fine too. You are French. You want to see the world burn. I fully respect that. And I love that about you. 0 times, exactly the correct amount. Exactly 0. Captain Anderson is a phenomenal character who happens to be black. A more recent example for you. Idris Elba in Cyberpunk 2077. He's a black guy. He's in Phantom Liberty. In fact, he is pretty much the main driver of the story in Phantom Liberty. Guess how many times him being black is brought up in the game in any way, shape, or form? The answer again is absolutely 0. Because him being black is not in any way, shape, or form important to the story. Him being a phenomenal spy and soldier is central to the story. And that is what's brought up, because that's what the whole expansion or DLC is about. And it is a phenomenal DLC. Why can't we just have that? Why can't we just have that? What is wrong with that type of storytelling? Where to spend my money and do it wisely. Chris, that is very true. I think a lot of people a lot of people love blaming capitalism whilst partaking in all the things they hate about capitalism, which is always super annoying to me. Capitalism works when you have an educated consumer base. Because ultimately the consumer is the one that has all the power. But the consumer needs to be able to utilize said power. Pointing out every few minutes for good boy points, that is. No, Velgard elves. Trying to humanize orcs and stuff like that pisses me off most. I hate capitalism, corporatism, and I love free markets. Well, capitalism is just free markets, to be fair. But I get what you're saying. The consumer needs to be aware that they have all the power. That's the problem. Too many consumers with a what can you do attitude. Well, yeah. But that's exactly, I think, that's the sad part of being one of those consumers. Being one of those consumers that don't support the things that I don't like. I oftentimes end up being one of the few ones that don't buy into it. Even though I like everything about it, it has one thing that I dislike, and therefore I cannot partake in it. I'll give you a good example of this. Now, it's not the best example because I would never buy Apple anyways, right? I'm not a huge Apple fan. But right now, I want to get a phone contract because my phone is sort of old now and it's time to get a new phone. I can get a contract for about $450 for a Samsung S24. Or I can pay $380 for an iPhone, I think the iPhone 14 or 15. I'm not sure. Not sure which one of the iPhones. But I refuse to go for the cheaper option. Even though the cheaper option has more minutes included in as well, I cannot go for the cheaper option because I fundamentally disagree with everything Apple stands for. That's not to say Samsung is a better company. I wish I could not support either of them. But at least Samsung isn't as scumbag. Like on the scumbag scale, Samsung is a little bit behind Apple. So I can't support that, which means I can't buy an Apple. Indie games, and I want more indie games, so they go up in my shopping list before AAA every time, even if some AAA games seem cool AF. What about capitalism that most people hate is the part where government gets involved, which coincidentally makes it no longer capitalism. True. I have the S24 Plus, and it's a good phone. Might be worth the extra money. Yeah, I'm just gonna pay the more money. We just need to stay vigilant, otherwise we will end up having a Gamergate 3. We're probably going to end up having a Gamergate 3 anyways. A lot of these people are true believers. And they're not going to stop, they're just going to go underground. They'd fly not in South Africa. So, we have a couple of problems here in South Africa, at least when it comes to unlimited stuff. And all of those problems can be related back to government. I'm just here to have fun, y'all. X-Rave. They are true believers, but they aren't gamers and don't buy games. Someone, but they do make the games. And that's the issue. So that's why we need to report it. Just gonna keep not buying their slop thing. They disappear for a bit again. The traffic lights. They steal traffic lights there. Well, the traffic lights is the least of our problems here. If traffic lights was the only problem, the problem is the government. The government controls the vast majority of the spectrum in South Africa. The spectrum needed for like Wi-Fi and phone calls and connectivity and all the rest of it, the government has the biggest part of that spectrum, and none of the mobile networks or Wi-Fi networks are allowed to operate on that spectrum. And the government refuses to sell their spectrum, even though they themselves do not use it. They use it for nothing. And so trying to make unlimited everything is just not something that they can do. At least we have electricity right now. But I saw it's coming back. Load shedding is coming back. Apparently there's some kind of problems. Tekla. I'm a huge fan of Javier Milei. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a massive fan of that man.
Countries and institutions that are failing. Burden that is the common denominator among the countries and institutions that are failing is the mental virus of woke ideology. This is the great epidemic of our time that must be cured. This is the cancer we need to get rid of. This ideology has colonized the world's most important institutions, from the political parties and governments of leading Western nations to global governance organizations, even NGOs, universities and media outlets. It has also set the tone of the global conversation over the past decades.
I'm surprised they even have him there. Because, I mean, you just know he's gonna torch all your bullshit.
Un año después, debo decir que ya no me siento tan solo. No me siento tan solo porque el mundo ha abrazado a la Argentina. Argentina se ha convertido en ejemplo mundial de responsabilidad fiscal, de compromiso con nuestras obligaciones, de cómo terminar con el problema de la inflación y también de una nueva forma de hacer política, que consiste en decirle la verdad a la gente en la cara y confiar en que la gente entenderá. Tampoco me siento solo.
Imagine your government telling you the truth, bro. Like, what is this man talking about? Government telling you the truth? Like, when?
Porque a lo largo de este año he podido encontrar compañeros en esta pelea por las ideas de la libertad en todos los rincones del planeta. Desde el maravilloso Elon Musk hasta la feroz dama italiana, mi querida amiga Giorgia Meloni. Desde Bukele en El Salvador hasta Víctor Orbán en Hungría, desde Benjamín Netanyahu en Israel hasta Donald Trump en Estados Unidos. Lentamente se ha ido formando una alianza internacional de todas aquellas naciones que queremos ser libres y que creemos en las ideas de la libertad. Uno de ustedes sabrá en qué grupo se reconoce. Seguramente haya un poco de espíritu pionero que hoy se ve representado, entre otros, por mi querido amigo Elon Musk, que injustamente ha sido vilipendiado por el wokismo de las últimas horas por un inocente gesto que lo único que significa es su entusiasmo y gratitud con la gente.
Burden that is the common denominator among the countries and institutions that are failing is the mental virus of woke ideology.
So we heard that bit. Based. Libertad. The rugby team hasn't been half bad lately. No, from everything that I hear, things are actually going super well in Argentina at the moment. Dude, it does feel like the world is changing. Like there's a change in the wind. Next Prime Minister of Canada. Oh yeah, I love this dude.
The U.S. government only recognizing two genders, male, female, they're unchangeable. If elected as Prime Minister, is that something that you're going to kind of walk in line with, or what are your feelings on that executive order?
well, I don't know. Do you have any other genders that you'd like to name?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm just asking more so if you're in line with what he is saying. Do you agree with what he's saying? Is that something that you would be lockstep with if elected as prime minister?
Well, I'm not aware of any other genders than men and women. I mean, if you have any other that you want me to consider, you're welcome to tell me right now.
Well, there's personally, I am a man. I am as people who say cis man. There are people there who, they say they're gender neutral.
Well.
You are a man. Yes. There are people there who say they're gender neutral. Yeah, they say they're gender neutral. They're a trans person. Is that something that you would recognize here, whereas in the States, at least with their U.S. government, the way they're seeing it, there's only two?
I'm only aware of two, but I mean, if you come up with another list, then you're welcome to do that. But I'm aware of two, and as far as I'm concerned, we should have a government that just minds its own damn business and leaves people alone.
Based, absolutely based, dude. I love this dude. But there's this one video of him, dude, that's probably my favorite video of him ever. This one.
On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean?
Well, appealing to people's more emotional levels, I would guess. I mean, certainly you tap.
Dude, the way this journalist lies and him just asking questions, this journalist doesn't know what to say, because normally all you need to do is make the accusation. You make the accusation, you win, right? You don't have to worry about anything else. You've won. You've made the accusation. And by just asking, well, give me an example of where was I being a populist? You just go, oh, shit, he said something. Wait, he's not supposed to say something. He's not supposed to question me. He's supposed to just start apologizing. What is this?
Certainly you tap very strong ideological language quite frequently.
Like what?
Left wing, this and that, right wing, I mean, it's that type of ideological spectrum.
I never really talk about left or right.
Anyways, I
don't really believe in that.
Okay. A lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Like which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but...
Like who?
I don't know who, but...
Well, you're the one who asked the question, so yeah. You must know somebody.
Okay. I'm sure there's some out there, but anyways, the point of this... On the...
This is the media, by the way. These are the people that's in control of the information. This is like the greatest thing ever. Some of the facts, dude. Love this. I can't ever say his name. I don't know how to say his name. He doesn't give a shit. It's pretty amusing to watch him. Men without testosterone are allergic to questions. How did you go from making lore speculation videos to doing this right-wing grift? Is the money that good? Babrecht, where's the grift? Where's the grift? Control? Well, not anymore. You just ain't having it? Well, simple questions, right? Like, for those on the left, the accusations were enough, right? For a long time, they could just throw out accusations, and they were used to the idea that if I call you a racist, then you'll immediately say, but no, I'm not a racist. Wait, what are you talking about? No, I'm not a racist at all. And that was enough, right? Because now the argument has sort of changed. You're now defensive. Now they can just keep accusing you. But then when you actually ask, well, where's the racist stuff? Like, what did I say that was racist? You see, they're not prepared for that. They don't know how to respond to that because, well, you've not, they don't know if you've been racist. I'm reminded of people saying things like, oh yeah, Donald Trump is a racist. And then you go, okay, well, what did he say that was racist? And they go, well, he's just constantly saying anti-immigrant stuff. And you're like, well, no, he's actually talking about illegal immigration, which most people are against. So what did he say that was racist? And like, oh, well, yeah, I don't have examples off the top of my head. Well, don't you think it's a bit stupid to believe something that you don't actually have examples of? Like, no one else would ever do that. You're an apple and once you crumble? Yeah, pretty much. Fabric, my problem is, okay, so I asked you, where's the grift? And you responded with, I mean, social democratic countries like Norway are truly a living hellscape. What's your, like, what exactly is your response? What are you trying to get at? You didn't answer my question. You just made another comment that again doesn't really it has nothing to do with your question originally. If you're accusing me of a grift, so let's just discuss what is a grifter. A grifter is someone who does something purely for money and for nothing else, right? There's no other reason. They don't have a firm, proper belief in the thing that they're talking about. They're just doing it because, hey, it's something to pay the bills, all right? If you're going to make that accusation, I would assume that you have evidence to back that up. You can prove that the things that I'm saying aren't things that I actually believe in. If you don't have that evidence, then that means that you're lying purely for the sake of making a point, for winning an argument, or whatever it is that you think you're about to achieve here. The issue with that, of course, is it's highly dishonest. Now, if you don't mind being dishonest, that's perfectly fine, but then I'm also not really interested in entering into a debate with you, because debating dishonest people truly is a valuable waste of time, which I'm just not interested in getting into. Barbosa Energy, like there are multiple examples of Biden saying the N-word. I also don't like when people throw that around. All of the examples that we have of Biden saying the N-word was during a very different time in America, right? Where a lot of people were using that word and not necessarily using it as like a super derogatory term. It was just sort of widely accepted that that's what you call black people. Right, so I also don't necessarily agree attacking people. Language change, cultural norms change. Something that was acceptable 30, 40 years ago isn't acceptable these days anymore. If you feel like you agree with that, then great, go for it. If you don't agree with that, then say what you want to say, right? Doesn't really bother me. It's like retard, right? You want to call people retard, go for it. I couldn't care less. It's your choice, right? Or maybe you feel like, I don't feel quite comfortable with the word retard. Okay, then you don't feel comfortable with it. That's fine too. All these beliefs, but I thought better of based on your previous content, although it being a few years since last was in chat. Hence, thinking it was a grift as I come in here and people go based as you play clips of the Canadian opposition. You mean the guy that's actually going to save Canada from the woke left that's been destroying Canada? Also, the countries that you're referring to, like Norway, the heavens on earth, are countries that have, when last have they made any sizable contribution to society? The whole of Europe is falling so far behind the rest of the world when it comes to technological innovation. Europe is dying. And that includes your social, democratic, heavenly utopias. The reason it's going so well is because the whole of Europe is riding on the back of capitalism. And the money is now done. The wave is dying. A country can only survive so long on the wealth that capitalism created and socialism destroys before there's nothing left to destroy. And then it dies, as it should. This is why Europe is now basically be so far behind China and America when it comes to technological advancement that it cannot even compete. This is why most of the large companies in Europe no longer want to be in Europe. This is why Europe no longer even has new large conglomerates popping up, because it's just not worth it to do business in Europe. So no, Europe isn't the gotcha. That's not the continent you want to be using. To the table when you don't have anything to back the argument is very disingenuous, and it's more counterproductive and offers nothing to the conversation. Don't you go talking bad about my cheese slicers and paper clips? Also, we carry a large part of Europe's energy production on our backs, 98% renewable at our own expense. Who gives a shit? And Fabric, I'm not being mean here, but it genuinely doesn't matter. Europe has lost a significant amount of its manufacturing over the last decade. If Europe was manufacturing at the rate that it's required to do in order to actually compete with the rest of the world, you wouldn't be able to carry its energy requirements. You wouldn't be producing anywhere near enough to carry it. And also, no one gives a crap about renewable energy. No one actually cares. Only the people at Davos care because they happen to make a lot of money with it. The rest of the people know that renewable energy outside of very specific countries that have a lot of natural waterfalls and dam systems that they can utilize, because hydro is pretty good. Solar and wind, especially in Europe, or most of Europe, is completely useless. Because you just don't have the places for it. So no one cares about that. Sooner ranks second among the Global Innovation Index. We export hella technology. You do not export that technology as a function of corporations producing it. What happens in Europe, and this is an actual epidemic. I mean, it's so bad now that even the president of France has spoken about it. That's how you know it's bad, when the left-wing politicians finally go, shit, something's wrong here. You know, okay, wait, it's really bad. They finally found out. The problem in Europe isn't that you have stupid people. Not at all. Europeans are incredibly intelligent. The issue is that most of the European companies that start technologies, so startup companies, as soon as that startup is set up, they sell out to American and Chinese corporations. Because starting the actual business in Europe is impossible. The red tape, the regulations, it's impossible to do. So you rather come up with an idea, right? Establish the idea, and then just sell it to an American company. Because you'll make a couple of million, maybe even a couple of billion, depending on the idea that you have, and you don't have to deal with the red tape that is Europe. So it's not that Europe suffers. It's not that European people suffer with a lack of innovation. There's plenty of innovation among Europeans. The problem is European innovation. So Europe innovation. You look at your technology and factories. It's so far behind the rest of the world. It's no longer even able to compete with, I think it's Japan, and Japan isn't particularly great. It can't even compete with Japan anymore. And what's strange is just 20 years ago, Europe was the second largest producer in the world of pretty much all technology. Europe as a whole, when you look at Europe as a continent, you guys should be more powerful than America. Do you realize that? Like, technically speaking, if Europe was run correctly, Europe as an economic bloc should be far more powerful than America. Far more. You have more people. You have more natural resources. You should not be suffering as an economic bloc. The fact that you are is weird. Zachary, that's what I mean. Right, that's what I said. They do startups. So they start the company and then they sell it. Because, yes, once you've started it, because startups are easy, right? It's like 3, 4, maybe 5 guys, or guys and girls, coming up with a technology, maybe building a prototype for it, whatever. But then if you want to make that thing, right? So now you want to scale up, suddenly you run into all European regulation and you go, wait, this isn't, we're never going to be able to sell this thing for profit. Wow, this is impossible. Pyarch, I get the idea. I get it, right? So I understand that people look at regulation as this beautiful thing, right? Like it's just regulation, bro. Like it doesn't really matter. But it does matter. Because I believe that people who believe in government regulations, people who believe that the government should take care of people, I believe those people are short-sighted. Because all institutions, no matter how pure they start off as, all institutions tend to corruption. Without any exception. Corruption is the end point of every single institution. In order for a government to take care of its people, it needs to be big. You need a big government. You need a government that can basically regulate the living shit out of the market because it needs to fund this taking care of the people. So if you have a government that provides healthcare, it needs people to provide that healthcare. And it needs to be able to pay all of these people. So you're talking about millions of people there working for the government, right? If it provides social security, someone needs to fund this, someone needs to run this, so all of these people are being paid by the government. The government needs money from the people. Beautiful idea. On paper. Or if you had angels that were actually running the system. But that's literally not what we see ever. It's funny how every single country in the world that provides healthcare for its citizens and that provides social security for the poor are constantly underfunded. Like the healthcare, the hospitals are always underfunded. They never have enough money for everyone's pensions and for everyone's sort of on the dole money from the government. They're constantly running at deficits, having to borrow money or print money in order to pay all of this stuff. Why is that? I mean, why? Why is it always just not enough? Corruption. That is the dead honest truth. Corruption. So why in the hell would I want a corrupt government to be in charge of my healthcare? Why would I trust them with that? We have free market systems in place that can do that. Charities exist. There are plenty of charities out there that take care of poor people. If you didn't have social health care, there would be charities that take care of poor people who need the hospital as well. And people would be far more willing to give their money to a charity that you can hold accountable than to a government that you cannot. Because you cannot hold the government accountable, you must give your money. And before people say, but you can vote. There's no real power in voting. That's why nothing ever changes. That's why Argentina went through almost 60 years of hell. Because nothing ever really changes. Floating, it's always funny to me when you speak to Europeans, they'll defend their healthcare systems to the death. The Europeans will not hear anything negative about their healthcare systems. But then when I look at your system and I compare it to my country system, I live in a third world African nation, South Africa. Well, it's a mixed world, right? First world and third world. I have better healthcare than you. I do not wait in a queue. If I need an operation desperately, I'll be in there tomorrow getting my operation, getting my surgery, getting whatever cure I need. And I pay less than you for the same service or even a better service. I pay less than you. If I add up all of your taxes and I take the amount that I pay for my medical insurance, I save, even including my own taxes that I pay to my government. My government tax is super high. Even if I take their taxes into account, I'm still cheaper than what I would be in Europe. So I'm not entirely sure why Europeans like defending their healthcare so much. Now, the problem South Africa has is a super bad government, so we have a two-tier system. Guess which part doesn't work? If you Google South African healthcare system now, it shows up like right at the bottom of the world. But that's because that's the government part. The one that the government runs, the socialized healthcare, death. No one wants to go to a public hospital here. You'll die. In fact, it's better to just go to a witch doctor than go to one of those hospitals. If you go to a private hospital here, you're getting world-class treatment, and it's not that expensive. A hospital plan will cost you $60, $70 a month. That's it. Or 50 euro a month. Yeah, but we had this discussion before. Looking at the American healthcare system and going, well, private healthcare doesn't work, is only true because you don't know how the American healthcare system works. America does not have private healthcare. America has government-sponsored corporate healthcare. There are a few corporations who work alongside the government who basically bleed the American public dry, and the reason they can do that is they have every single protection in the book from the government. If they fail, if they go under, the taxpayer bails them out. It is a racket. That's why American healthcare is in the state that it is in, because it is a racket, and it's a racket that's protected by the government. So the way it works is you have the banks, right? You have the health insurance companies, and of course you have the hospitals. So the hospitals figured out that because the government backs the healthcare providers, so all of the healthcare providers basically have a blank check from the government, the hospitals can jack up their prices. They can charge whatever they want because the insurance companies don't give a shit what the hospitals charge. Here in South Africa, on the other hand, when a hospital charges too much, the insurance companies actually send out emails and say, if you don't bring down your prices, we're taking you off the covered list. So then our patients will be informed to go to other hospitals. So we will just not support you. Your prices are too high. So our insurance companies sort of act as a cap for the hospitals. When the hospitals get a little bit out of hand, the insurance companies go, maybe get back in line. We're not paying that much. Get the hell out of here, right? Going to a doctor is the same thing. Doctors can't just charge whatever they want because the insurance companies will not pay whatever the doctor wants to charge. So it keeps the doctors in line as well, which means going to the doctor is super cheap. In America, that's just not the case. Because in South Africa, if an insurance company goes bankrupt, the government just goes, pick a finger. That's not the case in America. If one of their big healthcare providers goes under, the government pays blank check. We'll bail you out. So they just keep jacking the prices. And obviously the insurance company doesn't give a shit, because the more debt or the more money the hospitals charge, the more money the government has to give them. And here's the other super sad part of it. Because of Medicare and Medicaid in America, the insurance companies have no interest or no incentive to build price packages for poor people in America. Because, again, the government, the hospitals, and the insurance companies came together and said, hey, how can we get you guys nice and fat and rich? And they said, well, could you maybe use tax dollars to take care of the poor people so we could really start ramping those prices, if you don't mind? And the government was like, oh, sure, fam, I've got you. Right? We'll just tax the middle class and the rich. We'll take their money to take care of the poor people so that you guys can take their money to take care of the rich people. We'll just double tax everyone in America. No problemo. As long as you guys get nice and fat and rich. Why would the government do this? Where does every single congressman and senator in the US end up after their terms are over? So once they get voted out of office, where do they go? I have to go soon because it's getting late, but it is incumbent, or I think it's important to truly be educated on a matter if you're going to talk about it. So if you're going to say, for example, that social healthcare is better than private healthcare, you need to know what you're talking about. You really need to know what you're talking about. You can't just go, well, look at America. Do you know what's happening in America? Do you understand the healthcare system of America? Do you understand the intricacies of the healthcare system in America? Have you watched economists from both sides discuss the issues of healthcare in America? Or are you literally just looking at the result and ignoring why that result exists? And the same is true for every single thing. Every single thing can be looked at through that exact lens. If you see something that's wrong, it's very easy for people to sort of say, wow, because, we don't have that problem, but they have that problem. Clearly, that's the issue. Well, no, it might be a lot more complicated than that. Maybe you're right. Maybe that is just the issue. Or maybe it isn't the issue. Maybe there's a much larger issue at play here. It's not just as easy as going, well, no, I think it's just this problem. This must be the only problem. Lugo Mangione. I don't approve of what he did, but not because I feel sorry for the billionaire that he shot. I think if I'm a billionaire in America right now running a healthcare insurance company, I would immediately be going, dudes, I think we've gone too far. That's what I think. I don't think he's a good man either, because once you normalize using violence to get your way, you open a can of worms that you can never really put back, right? Like, there's no way to undo this. So if that is allowed, then how long before someone else picks up a gun and goes, well, I'm going to go shoot this guy? So how long before some right-winger picks up a gun and shoots Bill Gates? And he goes, well, fuck him, I don't like him. Is that good too? I mean, he has his reasons. I don't like Bill Gates either. I mean, what happens when we start to really extrapolate this and sort of pull it to its most extreme? Because if we're now in the business of just solving problems through violence, well, we don't need voting anymore. We'll just solve our problems through violence. So next election rolls around, JD Vance is running. Some left-wing dude takes him out. Some right-wing dude takes out the next incumbent, AOC or whatever. We just keep killing all of the people we don't like because we've opened that can of worms now. We've said, as a country, we're okay with solving our problems through violence. But remember, that does then mean that everyone is allowed to solve all of their problems through violence. The problem is, you can't do well, it's okay now because the guy had it coming. He absolutely did. The man that he killed was an absolutely disgusting, evil human being. 100%. But it's not... The world is not compartmentalized. You can't say, no. It was fine to kill this guy, but you can't kill the next guy. Because the question then is, but why can't I? Well, because we don't think the next guy deserves it. Yeah, but I think he does. And therefore, I want to kill him. And since killing is a viable solution to problem solving, this is what I will do now. So I do think it's dangerous to see people celebrating the assassination. I think what I said at the time and what I still maintain, what people should have done is tell healthcare providers and the billionaires that make their money by exploiting the people, we don't agree with what Lugio did here, if I'm even saying his name correctly. But you did have it coming. You guys are evil and you're exploiting the people of this nation to the point where innocent people are dying at your hands. And if you don't stop, this will continue. We won't be able to stop it because people are fed up. That, I think, is the right way to approach it. Because I do agree, they're absolutely evil. Like, I don't think there's any... In fact, I would go so far as to say I think almost all billionaires are evil. I don't think you can become a billionaire in the modern age. I don't think you can become a billionaire by being principled. You know, not completely principled or moral. Well, Datefly, you can't say violence is never the answer. Because for most of human history, violence was literally always the answer. And I don't have a problem with that. If that is the world we're looking to, then let's go, right? Then that's the world we're going to. But then I would say we should fully embrace it. Let go of elections. Let's have a proper civil war every 10 or 15 years when leadership needs to be changed. You know, so when the nation is tired of being ruled by one person, we do what we did in the past, which is civil war, baby. Let's go, right? We fight each other, we kill each other, and we move on, right? To the next, on to the next step, and so on and so forth. Because voting is legitimate. All voting is violence. Voting is violence with the pen. Instead of having a war to determine who the next leader of the nation is, people go to a ballot box and vote, and the winning party commits violence on the losing party. But because we have all bought into the system, we accept this. We go, okay, fine, I'll wait till next time. Once you open that door for violence, there's no going back. And Iraq, the way to become rich, especially in the modern era, is exactly that, right? You have to figure out how to buy out the government, or buy them off at least, so that they allow you to do things that you want to do, but stop your opponents from doing those exact same things. That's how you become a billionaire. You can't become a billionaire. Becoming a billionaire without government aid is almost impossible. Just normal market conditions and competition will kill your dreams long before you even get there. So yeah. Oh, by the way, what you guys should know is the machine has finally woken up. The machine is awake now. Do you guys remember what happened prior to Dragon Age Wokefall? The machine profile, it's what I call them. It's basically all of the media companies. As soon as one of their approved games are about to come out, what you'll start to see is article after article after article praising that game. So every single one of their publications from now on until the launch of this game, and usually like a month or two after the game, will be praising this game to high heavens, telling you this is the best game they've ever played. It's so amazing. It's so, like this one says, I think this one was worth the wait. It's just, and then what you'll see usually, and this is what happened with Dragon Age the Veilguard as well, about 2 or 3 weeks later, you start to see some articles come out where they'll sort of be like, oh, I didn't really enjoy it that much. Oh, the writing wasn't really that good. So they'll start poking holes in, in the game and sort of complaining about the game. And that's just because they are aware that people are actually reading their articles and people do have eyes, right? And so in order to appear as if they are balanced and fair, they can't not discuss the bad stuff. But they do need to try and push the game as much as possible. And then eventually you get to where Dragon Age the Veilguard arrives, for example, where it is just a date game, right? They know that their machine didn't work. They couldn't sell that game to the public. Then they just start trashing the game, which is basically what happened. Again, about a month and a half later, every publication was now writing all of the negative pieces about Dragon Age the Veilguard because, the game was now dead. There's literally nothing they could do anymore. Niall, how you doing, bro? Journalism is such a disgraced profession. In the current day, these outlets and writers don't have any self-respect. You are not wrong. The opposite of what PC Gamer says is true. Well, yes, that is generally my approach. Whatever PC Gamer says, probably a lie. They do whatever they say, the exact opposite of that. So, nobody, I absolutely agree with you. Now, I'm not suggesting that Assassin's Creed Shadows might not be good. I mean, Ubisoft has spent a lot of time on this. It's clear that they're genuinely trying to make this the best Assassin's Creed that they can. Maybe it is a good Assassin's Creed. Is it going to do well? My suggestion is that it will probably do decent. The problem for Ubisoft is decent isn't enough. So Ubisoft lost a lot of money on Star Wars Outlaws. Like a lot of money on Star Wars Outlaws. Assassin's Creed Shadows can't just sell decently. It can't just sell like 2 or 3 million copies. Because Assassin's Creed Shadows isn't just doing the heavy lifting for itself. It's doing the heavy lifting for the company. Yeah, the pirate game asshole. So right now, the total debt of Ubisoft, we covered this in a video like 2 or 3 weeks. No, last year, December. So more than a month ago, actually. We covered this in a video. Star Wars total debt right now, as it sits, is 1.4 billion euro. That's their total debts. 1.4 billion euro. Assassin's Creed Shadows has to make at least half of that. At least half of that. Probably even more. Right? It probably has to get very close to either breaking even or getting super close to it. Because remember, they're at a point now where they've already been downgraded as far as investments go. So people aren't going to lend them more money. Not easily. Not unless they're willing to pay exorbitantly high interest rates on that money. And so ultimately what they are up against is, if Assassin's Creed Shadows doesn't cover all of their debt, they're probably broke. My insider at Ubisoft said to me they expect good sales, and what they're hoping for isn't that the game will break records. They don't think the game will break records. Internally, at least, what they hope is that the game makes enough money to buy them time. From what I understood there, Ubisoft has already accepted the only way for them to survive is to sell the company. There is no other way. They have to sell the company. So they're hoping that Assassin's Creed Shadows sells well enough that they can go to Tencent and say, see, look what we can do. So that they have a better chance of negotiating a good deal with Tencent. Because right now, Tencent is sort of going, why would we bail you out if we could literally just wait for you to go bankrupt and then just sell off your IPs? Because your IPs are worth a lot more than you. So we could just sell the AC IP, and we could sell the Far Cry IP, and we could sell the Rainbow Siege IP, and we'd make bank. Right? So why would we bail you out? So they're hoping that this game gives them the leverage to say, well, buy us out because we can make good games still. That is the hope now. No, it's not entirely implausible. Like, if you look, for example, I believe if you sell 2.4 million copies. If you sell 2.4 million copies at $60, I think it's like 164 million. Let me just. That's quick math. Let me not do quick math. Let me just draw up my calculator here. So if you sold 2.4 million copies, right? Times by, let's do 70. 168 million, right? So 168 million. But let's say they can do, let's say they get to do 4 million. Just 4 million copies. Times by 70. It's 280 million. It's not brilliant, but that probably buys them a little bit of time. Do I think they'll sell 10 million? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. I'm gonna bet, based on how things have been going in the market, my prediction for Ubisoft is Assassin's Creed Shadows probably sells about 1 to 1.4, 1.5 million copies in its first month. And maybe Lifetime might be able to cross the 2.5 to 3 million mark. And that's purely just based on, well, the recent trends for most of the big AAA games. Like the recent trends for AAA games, they've been struggling to break the 3 million mark. Most of them hover between 1.5 and like 2.8, I think was the top end. X-Ray, I mean, yes, marketing is super expensive, but we're not even looking at those costs at the moment. We're just looking at how much debt they currently have. And yeah, sort of how much do they need to make in order to at least cover some of that debt. And they try to raise price of game, all having hope. GTA 6 sell at 100. Yeah, GTA 6 will probably sell at 100. I have no doubt that GTA 6 is going to sell at 100. I have news, though, for all of these developers that's thinking, we can finally charge $100. You're not GTA 6. Hold your horses there, Mr. Activision, with your Call of Duty clone 500. No one wants to pay $100 for your shit. It's just not gonna work. And check the complete list. Best-selling Assassin's Creed was AC3 with around 12 million, but that was a long time ago when Ubisoft had still their magic. Ubisoft is also adding Steam achievements to all their games, which they have never done before. They're panicking. I will never put more than 60 on a game. I'm willing to pay any amount of money for a brilliant game. I'm just gonna say that outright. If the game is good, I will drop 60 or 70 or even 80 or even 90. But then the higher the cost of the game, the better that game needs to be. And the more hours of fun I need to be able to derive from that game. So when I look back at Cyberpunk 2077, I would have been willing to pay $120 for Cyberpunk 2077 because I have, as of this moment, more than 200 hours in Cyberpunk 2077. I have played that game to death, and I will continue to play that game to death. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. I'd probably drop $100, $150 into that game because that game has given me probably over 700 hours of fun at the moment, or up until now, because I have played that game so many times over, and I love it every single time I play it. But it should be noted, I can say that now after the fact. But I can't know beforehand, and that's going to be the big problem. The higher your game is, the harder it is to convince me to buy it, and the more critical I'm going to be of your game. And I think that's what the game developers don't quite understand. But, ladies and gentlemen, I really do need to go. It's already 10:30 here. I had to be in bed like half an hour ago already. So I'm gonna love you and leave you guys. I will be back tomorrow. I will be streaming tomorrow because I couldn't stream yesterday. So I will definitely be back tomorrow. I just don't know what time tomorrow because we have the podcast tomorrow morning, me and Rurikon, and then after the podcast, I don't know what videos there will be. If there's no videos, then I'll go live immediately. If there are videos, then obviously I'll quickly make those videos and then I'll be live. But I will see you guys tomorrow. Same time, or well, same place as today. Both YouTube and Twitch. Ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate all of you for coming, for hanging out with me, for spending your time with me. I hope you had fun. I know I did. As always, be good to each other, be kind to each other, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.